Hey friends, my name is Jackson. I'm not your average NB and welcome back to my channel. And today I'm gonna do the whole 8-hour Reddit thing. I'm gonna at least start. I'm gonna see if I can do like an hour or maybe two. I don't know when my mom's gonna be home, but she is going back out later. But I am gonna have to like get I'm gonna have to like make sure that she texts me when she's on the way home. Hang on. Anyway, so I also started my morning by getting banned from one of my autism groups on Facebook because I said I was busy and apparently I'm not allowed to be busy. Apparently there was like a new member or something, so they tagged at everyone. They were like, "Members, where you at?" So I just stopped in for a quick second to say I was busy, and then they said, "Well," and then they said you can say hi really quickly, and I said no, and I said I'm busy, and I said, like I said, I'm busy. So they tagged me to say hi to the new member, and then it was like, I already said I'm busy. So anyway, they got really upset with me because apparently being busy is equivalent to being disrespectful. And things only went downhill from there, and I just left the group after that. They also had someone in the group who didn't want to talk about politics, and they banned that person. But then they had another person who was like going around telling the admins to kill themselves. So I had to have the window open. It's hot in here. Anyway, they had another person in the group who was telling the admins to go kill themselves, and also threatening to dox people, but apparently that stuff is okay because he has Tourette's syndrome. Like, if you don't want to talk about politics, that's a bannable offense. But if you just simply, but if you are going to tell people to go kill themselves, and like, if you're telling people to go kill themselves and threatening to dox people, that's apparently excusable because, oh, I guess he has a traumatic past or something, and like he has Tourette syndrome. I guess that makes his behavior okay. I don't know why they didn't ban him. That should have been my first red flag, to be quite honest. Also, another red flag. They do this thing where they call no rules, and then they basically verbally abuse people in the group. Like, they're like, get back here and talk to us, you bitch, to this one guy. And that should have been my first red flag to leave, like, right after that. And also, I asked if I could become a target in the future, and they said no, and now I'm a target because I simply said I was busy and I didn't have time to talk to a new member right now. Because apparently saying not saying hi to a member is the worst possible thing that you could do. Anyway, I they ended up like getting really mad at me and sending me to something called the reflection room where I reflected on my actions and I did the right thing. And then anyway, then they messaged me more, so I continued to stand up for myself and be like, yeah, I'm busy. You guys are I care more about my actual job than a support group. Like, I have a lot of shit going on. I have kids, I have pets, I have my writing, I've got my job. I've got my writing is technically my job right now. I'm still calling it that. I have my job. I have a lot of stuff going on. I have hobbies. I have a freaking life outside of this support group. So if someone says they're busy and they can't say hi to the new member, then that should be acceptable. Like, why isn't it acceptable? Hang on, I gotta actually find these messages so I can make sure I'm being like okay, yeah. So basically, can you please talk? I said, someone said, can you please talk to the new member? And I said, no, I am busy. And then and then they were like, excuse me. And then someone else said, say hi or something to the new member. It takes 2 minutes. And I said, I am busy. And then they like sent me to the reflection room and banned me temporarily from messaging the group, I guess. And then they tried to talk to me in the reflection room and they were getting really angry and heated. And they did this thing where, and like, I continued to stand up for myself. And I also said it was really shitty that they banned the guy that didn't want to talk about politics, but they didn't ban the guy that was literally going around telling people to kill themselves. That should be a bannable offense. If I'm modding a group and you tell someone to go kill themselves, especially if it's an admin, you're getting banned. It's as simple as that. And no. And I also said that I was having problems with suicide that guy, when the guy said, go kill yourself or whatever. Like, that was the whole thing. An ad just popped up on my TV for Bee Simulator. Is it like an actual bee or is it like the Bee movie? Because both sound pretty cool. Anyway, so basically, I continued to defend myself. I said it was garbage that they banned the guy. Hang on, I got more posts on here. I'm gonna find them. The replies are absolutely insane, and the update, and so that's just the original. That's just the original thingy. Hang on, I'm gonna go find the updates because the updates get even more insane and ridiculous. Do. Okay, so essentially, basically, yeah, someone said, okay, so one of the admins was like, I don't appreciate how rude you were to a boss. You could have simply said a little bit, not being rude like this. And someone else said, how would you feel if you was ignored? And I said, I would be okay with it because I would understand people have lives and I'm not the main fucking character. I also said the fact that you wouldn't ban the guy who told people to end themselves, but you banned the guy who didn't want to talk about politics tells me everything I need to know. I have a life outside the group. Being busy is not being disrespectful. I have a life outside this silly little group. I'm going to warn everyone I can about what happened to me here, so no one has to feel the way you make people feel here. I left the group. You are treating people terribly. Screw you. I have a life outside of UP. I didn't ignore anyone. I informed you I was busy. Tough shit. I have a life outside of you people. And then I said, you're not more important than my actual fucking job. And then someone replied to my comment, I have a life outside of you people, and said, so do we. That's what one of the mods said. And then I said, so then if I'm busy, I am busy. Like, do they not understand that? You tagged at everyone to ask where we were at. I responded I was busy. Fuck off. Everyone who was reading, says the mod. And then I said, and while I'm at it, you guys suck for not banning that guy who was telling people to end themselves. You were making excuses for him, and that's fucking garbage. You people are terrible, and this chat is terrible and not supportive. I'm done here. I have shit to do. Literally ridiculous. But wait, there was more. Okay. And then so I said that comment, you tagged at everyone to ask where we were at. I responded I was busy. And then they said everyone who was reading, which, how am I supposed to know that? That's just supposed to be implied. I just, I just quickly checked in to say that I was busy and I couldn't talk right now. Okay. And then someone else says the guy who actually was interested in joining our groups last Friday. I banned you, by the way. Okay. I don't care. Says the guy who has only 17. Okay. Says the guy who actually was interested in joining our group last Friday. I'm not a guy. I'm literally non binary. It takes 2 seconds on my profile to figure that out. Literally 2 seconds. If you're not willing to take the 2 seconds to look at my profile to learn my gender, I don't really care about anything you have to say. And then someone said, and then one of the mods said, I banned you, by the way. We know you're a band member with a fake profile or friends with a band member. Grow up, asshole. And then I said, ban me. I literally do not give a fuck. And someone also says, I only have 17 friends. I guess that's supposed to be some kind of insult. We're not. And then they said I was probably a band member behind a fake profile. Jeez. Whatever. And then they sent some kind of screenshot that I guess was supposed to be important, but I don't really get what it means. And then they tagged me and said, "You are now showing your true colors." And then someone said, "You think sharing screenshots on your Facebook page is going to help you?" And someone else said, "What? That's an absolute no-no." And then I responded to that, "You don't like it? Well, now I'll totally change my behavior and beg for a chance back in your awesome group where you can literally tell people to kill themselves." And someone responded to that, "Excuse me?" And then, hang on, I'm trying to find and then I said, "You heard me." I responded, "You heard me." And someone said, "Take a screenshot of that, Jackson Calix," which I already took a screenshot of. So I sent another screenshot of someone else who had a bad experience in this group that says, I was actually added to that group without my consent, and when I asked why I was added, I got yelled at for addressing the mod that added me by name and told me I had an attitude for sending question marks, so I just left. Hang on, there's more. And then they're like, oh, how sad. Jackson Calix only has 17 friends. And then I responded, how sad that you judge someone based on how many Facebook friends I have and that you think that's an insult. I am screenshotting this all. Uh, and people were saying like, "Excuse you, OMG Jackson," and then someone said, "OMG, you are on the way to being blocked and banned for good." And then I said, "That is what I want." And by the way, I kept trying to leave, and they kept messaging me, so I blocked a couple of the mods who were messaging me, and then they kept on messaging me, and then different mods would message me. So basically, so essentially, I was just like. Hang on. So essentially, I was just like, hmm, hold on a sec. I gotta find out where this comment. I gotta find out where the comment went. Uh, so because they kept messaging me and wouldn't leave me alone when I wanted them to leave me alone. Also, they said they blocked and banned me, but I guess they were lying because they kept on messaging me. So I would block a mod, then a different mod would message me, so I blocked that mod, and then a third mod messaged me, and then so I responded, "Why do you keep messaging me? How many of you do I have to block?" Okay. And there was more. So anyway, OMG, we're on the way to being blocked and banned for good. And then I said, "That is what I want. Fucking do it, cowards. I do not want to talk to you anymore. Do it. Block me. Ban me." I said a lot of stuff. And and then someone else said, "Yup, you are a real piece of work." So I said, so I responded, "Yes, I am." And then a mod responded to that, and then a fucking mod responded to that. "Seriously, stop. It's actually annoying." Even though they were the ones that kept on messaging me, even though I tried to leave. When I said I'm done here, I have shit to do, they kept on messaging me, so then I messaged them back, and now a mod is saying, "Seriously, stop. It's actually annoying." So I said in all capital letters, "You are the ones who keep messaging me constantly, so no, leave me alone if you don't like it. Last chance, do not message me again, and I won't message you." And then they finally actually banned me from the group and stopped messaging me after like giving them so much shit because I kept trying to leave. I think I left like twice. Facebook cry about it now. Imagine thinking that the amount of internet friends you have makes a difference and that it's equivalent to quality of life. I have an amazing life and I'm simply not obsessed with the internet or needing online friends. Some people will just pick stupid arguments because they have nothing meaningful left to say. Pointing out the number of Facebook friends I have is equivalent to a kid saying no you. It's literally equivalent to a child saying no you on the playground because they ran out of good arguments. It's basically what they're saying is I have no good arguments left, so I'm just going to say stupid shit until you agree that you were in the wrong, even though I'm not. Uh, And I kept on saying that. And I think that they didn't like the fact that that I was actually standing up for myself and that I wasn't apologizing. And also that I was agreeing with them because when they said that I'm a piece of work, I said, "Yes, I am," which I am. Not in the way that they think, but I am. And these are the same people who just last night were telling me not to let jerks get to me and and were telling other people to be respectful. And now all of a sudden, and now all of a sudden I'm being attacked for saying that I was busy, which I was, by the way. I'd just gotten up and I was kind of doing my morning routine, but I saw them tag at everyone for the new member just to say hi, for the new member to talk to the new member. And since they tagged at everyone, I thought I would quickly check in and just say, yeah, and just say I'm busy. And I literally only sent the word busy because that's all I could send at that time. And then they tagged me specifically to say hi to the new member, and that is when I said, "No, I am busy," and that's when I was sent to the reflection room. It was insane. Anyway, like, that happened around, like, a little before noon. It's really messed up. Like, they're definitely taking advantage of their power. And then when my Facebook friend said, "Jack, you're so lucky you got banned. They're creeps and control freaks. Trust me, you're better off without them. I think they're trying to lure us in and abuse us." And then I said, "I'm really glad I left and I got banned. The updates were even worse. They're definitely taking advantage of their power." And then she says, "Exactly, I'm happy you're out there." And then I said, "Me too." It was just so freaking exhausting. So exhausting. Like, but also it felt so good to just like get it all out there. My first red and yeah, my first red flag should have been when they were literally calling out members and verbally abusing them when they could have just been like, that wasn't respectful, please go to the reflection room. But instead they're literally calling people bitch. Like they called out a member and they were like, get back here, you bitch, and talk to us when they called no rules the first time, which is really messed up. And I didn't think that was a very good idea. I didn't like that. I didn't think it was nice. And apparently anyone can become a target if you do something that pisses the mods off, even if it's completely, fine and normal. Like, mentioning that you're busy instead of talking to a new member because you don't have time to talk. And and listen, here's the thing too, if I say hi to the new member, then the new member might say hi back and then try to start a conversation with me. And I'm pretty sure that these mods would have expected me to like sit there and have a conversation with him when I'm busy trying to do my morning routine and trying to wake myself up and stuff. I think if someone gets a message and gets tagged in at everyone, or gets tagged specifically, but gets tagged at but gets tagged and involved in the everyone tag, then they should be able to check in quickly, tell them they're busy, and, come back later when they're not busy. Because I probably would have been back there in like an hour to talk to whoever, but instead, I left the group because I don't want to be a member of a group where people get verbally abused for literally having lives outside the group. Like, it's not okay. And since then, I've heard a couple of other stories from people who had bad experiences in that same group. And honestly, the biggest red flag, there was this guy who told the mods to go kill themselves, and then when they told him to stop and like whatever, then he was like, my docs list is growing. And they didn't ban him for telling the mods to go kill themselves, and he didn't ban them for talking about his docs list, and their excuse is that he has Tourette syndrome and something to do with his past, that it sucked or something, or was abusive or whatever. I don't know, but that doesn't make it okay. Like, if I told someone to go kill themselves, I would expect to be banned from that group because that's how the real world works. You can't just like do whatever you want and, say whatever you want and then just be okay. Like, you can't just say whatever you want and use your abusive past as an excuse, or the fact that you have Tourette syndrome. Like, I don't know what to tell you. It's just, it's not okay. And it's not okay to tell people to go kill themselves. Doesn't matter. There are consequences, or at least there should be consequences. Just like harassing people on YouTube should have consequences. Doesn't matter if you're tagging them in posts to say nice things to them. You are still harassing them. Doesn't matter if you're tagging them in posts to ask questions. You are still harassing them. It is still harassment because they've asked to be left alone and you are not leaving them alone. Therefore, it is harassment. Anyway, I'm gonna move on to like the Reddit stuff, but give me a second because I'm gonna go. I gotta refill my water, so I'll be right back. Well, I'm gonna try to record for 2 hours total today, and basically the Reddit video is just like basically going around exploring whatever subreddits I want, and probably mostly save posts because so mm, because I have so much. Like, I have so many save posts. I literally have like a billion of them by now. Like, I'm constantly just like, I constantly am saving messages, like, usually I'll save, like, Reddit posts every single day, but I'm constantly saving more of them so I can do more of these videos because I know how much you guys love these videos. Okay, and this first one is from Best of Redditor Updates, which is one of my absolute favorite subreddits, and actually, probably my favorite subreddit to actually read on video. And I know your guys' favorite subreddit is r slash am I the devil, because that's the one you voted for, but mine is this. It has to be this. I need to find help for a gay teenager who doesn't not want to go to a camp to cure him. And this is not the OOP. Originally posted r/legal advice and r/am I the asshole. Trigger warning, homophobia, gay conversion, camp abuse, and stalking. Uh, Michigan, I need to find help for a gay teenager who does not want to go to a camp to cure him. This was posted, oh my god, years ago. July 31st, 2020. Alright, I do not live in Michigan, but the family that needs help is there. I have a cousin who is 17 years old, and his parents found out that he's gay. He found out that they were going to send him to one of those camps that swears that they could cure him. He had a friend who was forced to go, and the poor kid was horribly abused and is not doing well mentally or physically. When he found out that those people would come for him, he ran away, called me, and I called some friends that got him to another part of my family. They're going to try and keep him safe. His 18th birthday is next week, Tuesday, and we need advice on how to keep him from going. How can we protect him? I don't know much about that camp, so I do not know if they can still drag him there. Advice on how we can keep him safe is very much needed. Relevant comments. At 18, he cannot be forced to go or stay at any camp. Are you asking for advice on how we can avoid this camp for the next 5 days? And then OOP says, yes, basically I am. However, I heard of camps that will still take him, even if he is 18, as long as his parents sign for him to go. I do not know if this is true, so any advice would be wholeheartedly welcomed. And then, NAL, and then someone says, NAL, once you're an adult, that's kidnapping. That's not, wait. Wouldn't it be kidnapping if it was a child? I'm confused. I'm just trying to figure out right now what NAL stands for. Um, Maybe not advice, but I have no idea what the L stands for. Anyway, am I the asshole for not telling people my missing cousin is staying with me right away? December 11th, 2020, 3 months later. It's the middle of the night and my phone won't stop ringing because of my family. To try and keep this short, my cousin Jake got outed about 4 or 5 days before his 18th birthday in the summer. His parents, my aunt and uncle, made arrangements for him to be sent to one of those awful camps that claimed they could cure him. A kid in his community was forced to go and came back and was clearly not well, so Jake didn't want to go. Jake ran away from home and jumped from one family house to another. His folks didn't file a missing persons report because they didn't want to look bad to their neighbors. They just told him that he went to that camp willingly. He disappeared in the middle of October and turned up in my city a week later. After making sure he was safe to bring home, my wife and I allowed him to stay. He didn't want me to tell the rest of the family for a while because those people at the camp keep showing up to take him. I made sure to talk to a lawyer who assured Jake that they cannot just take him. 3 days ago, he told his parents he was here. A few hours later, those damn camp people showed up, but they weren't able to take him. My family has been blowing up my phone for the last 2 days, angry that I didn't tell someone sooner. Well, Jake didn't feel safe yet and still doesn't. I wanted to make sure he was ready. Still, even those that want to protect Jake are upset with me for hiding him. Am I the asshole for not telling anyone that he is here until he was ready? The verdict was not the asshole. Top comments. Not the asshole, but weird that you think you'd be an asshole for protecting him from those fucked up conversion camps. Keep protecting him. Stick to it, man. Make sure he knows he has a safe place with you. Not the asshole. Fuck those people. Fuck homophobes that think being gay is something that needs to be cured in the first place. Fuck people that think parents have any right to do that to their kids. Good on you for protecting him. And then someone else replied to that, not to get all political, but I'm gonna. The 11th Circuit Court of Appeals ruled that conversion therapy is somehow protected by the First Amendment. I can't even roll my eyes hard enough. It should be called what it is, torture. And then someone responded to that, then fuck the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals too. And then someone else replies, right there with you. Just figured I should point it out. Opinion was written by two Trump appointees. Yeah, no shit. That just reeks of Trump. Edit. Wow, thank you for all of the awards. I don't deserve them, but thanks. Since I'm drinking coffee and slowly going through the comments, I thought I would say a few things. First off, well, I figured I wasn't the asshole for hiding him from my more narrow-minded family. It was those that really wanted to help Jake that made me feel guilty. They were all scared out of their minds and wanted the peace to know he was okay. I felt bad for not telling them, though I'm sure they wouldn't have turned him in. I felt bad because we were working on keeping him safe. Also, we got a lawyer who got the police on the lookout for those camp people in case they try anything. Jake is not going out alone until we are sure he is safe. Third, we are looking on how to get his paperwork, like his birth certificate, here, because no way he trusts his parents to just hand them over. My granny in law is talking to some people that could help. Fourth, Jake says hello and thank you. Oh, and we're Catholic, not Christian. We're our own special type of jackasses. Edit. Once again, okay, you're right about the Catholic Christian thing. I was raised to split hairs. I apologize. Update December 17th, 2020, 6 days after the last post. First off, I want to thank everyone for their comments and advice. Thank you for saying I was not the asshole because I was doubting myself. Regarding the camp people, we have footage of them coming up to our house and other family members' houses looking for Jake, so we have a clear image of what they look like. I already warned those people not to come near our house or Jake. They seem to listen, but Jake is still not going to leave the house without someone. I talked to the police about it, and they cannot do anything unless these people break the law, but they will keep an eye out. Well, better than nothing, I guess. Regarding the paperwork, my aunt and uncle refuse to hand over the papers. They want Jake to either come home or go with those people. Neither is happening. We are looking up ways to get Jake's paperwork without them, but someone suggested calling the police and explaining what happened. Well, I don't usually want to go that far. That is what we are probably going to have to do. Yeah. Regarding therapy, Jake agreed to it. I am getting a referral from my own therapist, so Jake is going to get help there. Regarding family, insert loud sounds of pain and annoyance. Some family threatened to come over to try and make Jake go back home. Others, while understanding why I didn't tell them Jake was here, are still upset with me. It'll be a while before I can smooth things over with them. Regarding Jake, he is safe. We have him set up comfortably here. My granny in law pretty much adopted him, and I am so sure she is going to put him in his will. Um, in her will. He is safe, surrounded by people that support him, and I'm going to see about finding him some work when he's ready to try it. Again, thank you everyone for your messages and advice. We will be using them, and Jake says thank you as well. OOP added another update, June 8th, 2021, 6 months later. Update, I wasn't sure if people were still reading this or I could make a third post. Decided to update here just in case I can't make a third post. Jake is doing well. Well, it was a struggle to get his papers from his parents. Jake threatened to tell their community and church that he ran away, and they didn't file a police report. They handed the stuff over to keep him quiet. I helped him get his license here. He is staying with my family and I for the time being. My granny in law adopted him, I think. She is quite fond of him. He has a job and is in therapy, and we found out his ex boyfriend's parents were the ones that spilled the beans about him being gay. He is an ex because he sided with his parents, so screw him. But despite everything, he is going to be okay. We are not worried about those camp people anymore. He is safe, he is well, and says hi. Alright, that's the entire post. Thank God Jake has OOP in his corner. There are so many kids who don't get this relatively happy ending. Also, fuck Jake's parents and fuck his ex and ex's parents. These kinds of camps are abuse. Fuck those who support these camps and think it's good. They're going to become more common, with paramilitary like ICE being used to round them up. Jesus H, that was disgusting to write. That's so fucking disturbing. And then someone says, what exactly happens in those camps? Physical abuse, verbal abuse, mental abuse, and many even experience sexual abuse at these camps. They have a bunch of kids alone in the woods with no phones or ways to contact the outside world, so they do whatever they want with them, and the parents are typically pretty fine with whatever happens there. Threw him under the bus. I'm guessing the ex is playing, oh, I was lured into this by the predatory gayness, burrowed back deep in the closet to save his skin. Not only OOP too, it seems, as he could find a shelter pretty quickly near him. OOP is a real Omar, whatever that means. Uh, I love that. I love this person's flair. I'm turning into an unskippable cutscene in therapy. That's from a really good story. Actually, I might be able to find it. The family who wanted to help Jake got all pissed off about OP hiding his location totally missed the point. The instant his parents got wind of where he was, they were sending people to try and kidnap him. This shit is on a need to know basis for a reason. I hope Jake is thriving out there on his own now, loved and loving. Alright, let's go to the first post in r/legal advice, and I want to read this. At 18, he cannot be forced to go or stay at any camp. Are you asking for advice on how we can avoid this camp for the next 5 days? Age of majority is 18 in Michigan. It would be kidnapping at this point. Legal guardianship is a much more complex issue that requires quite a bit of time in court. It's largely inapplicable in this situation. Besides, judges are unlikely to rule that a gay person is mentally unfit simply because they are gay. That would fly in the face of settled law. While a local LGBT group is likely going to have resources, if the parents attempt to force him to go or people from the camp shows up, the answer is to decline and call the police. Ah, okay. Someone removed this post because they were mad about it. It was one of the mods. Apparently, your comment has been removed as it is generally unhelpful, simplistic, to the point of useless, anecdotal, or off topic. It either does not answer the legal question at hand, is a repeat of an answer already provided, or is so lacking in nuances to be unhelpful. Please review the following rules before commenting further. Many conversion programs are very happy to take adults, but that doesn't mean they can hold adults against their will. They cannot force him to enter the program if he is 18, and if he goes before his birthday, he can leave immediately once he turns 18. Unfortunately, I have heard stories of programs trying to do so anyway, and they could potentially make it very difficult to make outside help once he is on their property by barring access to phones and internet. He could be reported by or run away at this time if his parents don't consent to him being away from the house, but realistically, it could take some time for the authorities to find him. You are unfortunately probably in violation of the law by keeping a child from their legal guardians. Several cities in Michigan have banned conversion therapy, but not the state as a whole. The action that carries the least risk of legal complications is for your friend to notify their parents of their whereabouts, and if ordered to return home, do so. A small burner phone would be helpful. If anyone attempts to force them to leave the home, they can call the police. The action that carries the least risk of legal complications is for your friend to notify their parents of their whereabouts, and if ordered to return home, do so. Yeah, okay, I highly doubt any prosecutor is going to go after the nearly 18-year-old for fleeing to safety. Not the kid, those who are breaking the law. Highly unlikely that would happen, but a fair point. I suppose there's some bored, hard-headed prosecutor in some rural hellhole who would prosecute. Yes, I did my best to couch my answer as least legal risk. There are certainly other alternatives that may be more practical in this situation, but also run a higher risk of legal complications. Uh, alright, let's look at the second post. Not the asshole, but weird that you think you'd be an asshole for protecting him from those fucked up conversion camps. Keep protecting him, stick to it, man. Make sure he knows he has a safe place to stay with you. Family guilting, you can be a weird and strong thing, but yeah, definitely not the asshole. Oh, that's true. I didn't even think of that part since I'm looking from an outside perspective. My bad, OP. Just remember you're doing the right thing for your cousin by keeping him safe. I think the part that messed OP up the most was the guilt trips from his family that wanted his cousin protected from the conversion camp people. When you have people who have the same view but are supportive of the opposition, it can really make a mess of your thought on right and wrong. OP, not the asshole. Yeah, I think that's the part where he feels bad, but he has to remember that some people are naive and think that everything is going to be alright, when actually it's not true. You could want the best for somebody and it will still be horrible. I'm hoping that the mentality of people saying OP should have said something sooner is rooted in legitimate concern for the safety of the child. My older brother ran away from home when he was about 14 or 15 and ended up in another state staying with a family friend for about a year. This friend told a couple of other people, but not my mother. When she finally found out her son was alive and well, she cut off everyone that knew and didn't at least let her know that he was safe. It's slightly different in that she didn't want him to go to conversion therapy or anything hideous like that. She just wanted him to stop using drugs and maybe go to therapy. I think OP is not the asshole. It can be difficult to find a way to say, hey, nephew is safe and sound, alive and well, but he'd rather not be kidnapped, so I won't tell you where he is, especially under such extreme circumstances. Yep, think so too. Sometimes you have to think about the one who is in danger, because yes, I think that those therapy camps for homosexuals are dangerous for everybody, and especially kids and teenagers. People who send their kids there are horrible people and need to have their kids taken as soon as possible, and not about the one who are around you. Protecting somebody goes before being kind. I went to two summer day camps like that, the first being an after school program for troubled teens. I was about 12 to 13. The other was at a mental hospital. My parents were convinced by a shitty therapist that I needed to go to these camps for ADHD after I outgrew the YMCA day camp where I got bullied for being the weird kid. I don't have ADHD, I'm textbook autistic. At the first place, I got bullied. My head slammed into a wall over ownership of a cush ball. Kits crafts bought for me had pieces thrown away. Exacto knife blades were thrown at my head and said, Jesus. My cousin, who was there to detox from his weed, did his best to defend me, but we still both got in trouble a lot. After all, the counselors were convinced that I had provoked the problems by existing. At the mental hospital, one kid took my tennis racket, smashed the head into the ground, then told me that my head would soon look like that. Another time, a girl chased me with a knife until I locked myself in the bathroom, where she screamed that she was going to slash my throat for looking at her funny. Again, always my fault for provoking them. The counselors at both places told my parents that I was making every single story up, that I had caused my own bruises and cuts. Basically, they attempted to gaslight me. The first summer, my cousin stood up for me, but the second, he wasn't there. I was very glad when school started again both summers. I still sometimes have flashbacks and PTSD after over a quarter century. Hmm. Hmm. Um, I can only imagine what would have happened to me if my gender fluidity had been recognized by more than myself. As for the therapist, I was forced to see him until age 18. He tried diagnosing me with everything under the sun, including things like multiple personalities, which I have never shown symptoms of. Having your own mother ask you at a family reunion if you've ever heard voices at 16 is deeply upsetting. All he wanted to do was medicate me. At one point, I was on a cocktail of the highest recommended doses of Zyprexa, Dexedrine, and Depakote. He told my mother that my zombie-like state was desirable. I started getting very good at hiding those pills. Then he told my mother when I was 18 to just flush them all, and was surprised I had seizures. Haven't seen the JA since. Got my autism diagnosed at age 24 and have been doing much better ever since. This is the kind of thing you are saving your nephew from. I can promise you those conversion camps are even worse than my experiences. Please continue to be a positive, supportive figure in his life. The only assholes here I can see are his parents. You did the right thing, and I'm very proud of you. Edited for small spelling mistake. Okay. Yeah. If you feel up to it, please report the people who so horrendously misdiagnosed and overmedicated you as a teenager and get them barred from working in their fields. They could do irreparable harm to people. I did when I could, and he no longer has a license. The after school program was shut down the year after I was there. The mental hospital camp stopped running a few years later, and as far as I know, after a parent sued. I still will not go anywhere near that particular hospital. Alright. Let's see about the third update. I'm kind of curious. Okay. Since I didn't see the suggestion in the comments either here or in the original post, you and your cousin should be on guard against identity theft from his parents. Well, this is certainly a secondary consideration. His parents may go all vindictive and try to fuck up his life to force him to come back to them. Or they may just want to get revenge or make the ludicrous claim that since he abandoned them, he owes them money and they are entitled to take it out in his name. Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of abusive parents do this. His parents have all of the necessary information to create new credit accounts and the like for him, then run up huge bills. Once you get his ID situation set, make sure that there are potential fraud alerts at all of the credit agencies, change passwords and the like, use two-factor authentication, set up bank and brokerage accounts at places that his parents don't use, etc. You may want to check with the domestic violence shelter for advice about this, since they will have seen this sort of thing before. Brian Krebs, a noted computer security journalist, has a good online guide that I can recommend, and then he sent the link to the guide. Um, Glad things are going well so far, and good luck going forward. Edit. Whoa, I didn't think this was worthy of such attention. Thanks for the award, kind stranger. Second edit. OOP, OOP, your cousin needs to use fake answers to security questions like, which elementary school did you attend? Since his family will know most of the answers to those kinds of questions. This is a good practice for everyone, but it's especially important in his case. And then someone else says, "Is Jake over 18? Because if he is, here are some things that you can do. One, go to a lawyer and start laying the groundwork for a cease and desist or restraining order for the camp staff. You have evidence of them harassing people and trespassing on the property looking for him. Also, absolutely go to the cops. Two, if he's over 18, he's able to get all of his documentation without his parents' assistance. Three, he can't stay in your house forever, so until you get the camp to back off, you need to make a plan in case he gets grabbed. If he's over 18, his parents don't know his kid. In case the worst happens and he gets snatched, you'll be able to use this to get authorities to get him out of there ASAP. 5. Sometimes in cases of domestic abuse when one party flees, but then they need to get their stuff out of their home safely, the cops would come in to escort them and wait in the house while that person collects their things. Are the police in your area the type to be willing to do that? If Jake goes back to his parents' house with a police escort so he could pack his stuff and maybe some documents and bring them to your place. 6. It might also be time to implement social media pressure to get his parents and your family to back off. I don't know where you live, but maybe social pressure will get your parents to tell the camp to back off if they're shamed and humiliated publicly enough on Facebook. Some parents will take and refuse to hand documents over until they get their way, like my mother tried to do to my brother when she walked out. Or I've heard in other cases parents destroying their kids' documents as a form of control over them or to make it harder on their child to get anywhere in life. I think in some places there's serious legal charges for that, so double check. Regardless, it should be possible to get a birth certificate reissued with a bit of legwork without having to talk to his parents in any way. From there, it should be possible to work from the ground up, getting ID and various forms of paperwork sorted. Originals would be ideal, and it sucks some parents hold that stuff over their kids as a control thing. So long as your situation is secure enough that you can spend time needed on replacements, then doing so can sometimes be the safest option. It also costs money, and to have them reissued, it's a huge hassle. I remember when my brother was getting his passport, they went to a bigger city center. My mother went as well to get her birth certificate reissued as hers was lost. She luckily had her social insurance number card, her driver's license, healthcare card, and a few other things used to secure her identity, but they still made her jump through hoops to verify she was who she was. I don't know about in the US, but it may be a similar deal or harder to get his documents. What? I have no idea what that word is. Brisdude? Bristered? If he has nothing? What the fuck? This word is Breisdird. I have no idea what that word is supposed to be. Whatever. Um, okay. Must vary a lot by country then. My sister needed to get a birth certificate reissued from Scotland, and it was an online form that asked for a few details. Name, date, place of birth, and parents' names. That's it. A small fee, and a few weeks later she had a new one. I'm in Canada, and it's a freaking hassle to get certain documents. For example, just to get our passports, we need two references from non-family members saying that they've known us for 2 or more years. And I think renewals also require that even when we send in an existing expiring soon passport. Ugh. Certain documents when certain document renewals slash reissues require that you have specific forms of a document. For example, I think our passports now require a long form birth certificate, and if yours is a card like mine, you need your birth certificate reissued as a long form, even if you still have your old one. I know this because my mother's reissued birth certificate is a long form version, and mine's considered a short form. Oh, and the fees? A few $100 depending on the document. SINs, birth certificates, passports. I believe they were $200 plus starting price. It's crazy. Yeah, all right. So I changed my name recently in Canada, like 2 years ago, and it took a lot of work to actually get it changed. And it also cost a fair bit of money. I think around $200 or something. I don't know. It was expensive, and it actually took a lot of work and effort. And my name still isn't changed on everything. Like I got a document from the bank yesterday that had my new legal first name, but my old last name that also isn't legal anymore. I just want to ignore documents like that, but I can't because it's important stuff. Um, hmm, oh man. So people are like complaining about the Lilo and Stitch remake, and some people think it's good, some people don't like it, which is about, what happens with every Disney remake. I don't know. They seem very divisive, but people are complaining about the new Lilo and Stitch remake, and I was actually going to see it, and people were reacting to the trailers, and they were like, wow, this looks so good. The reason I didn't see it is because I found out that Captain Gantu wasn't going to be in it. So I'm not going to be seeing it. Um, so, there was that. I don't know. I guess Disney thought the trailers were looking too good and they needed to do something to ruin it. Like, I guess they thought the reactions to the trailers were, like, too good. They were like, we need to make this a little bit worse. And then they were like, what about a lot worse? What if we remove you know, the whole character that the ending climax revolves around? Mm, It's just ridiculous. Anyway, oh man. All right, I'm gonna do a couple more stories. Am the asshole for telling a coworker that his choices of names for her twins is idiotic? Okay, and then it's from Best of Editor Updates. Editor's note: as KDM pointed out in the OG Best of Editor Updates, OOP is a man and the 39 female in the story is the coworker. I cannot believe that there is a split opinion for this at my office, but here we go. Oh, and it was posted December 23rd, 2021. Okay, so years ago. A coworker of mine, a 39 female, recently had twin boys after a long battle with infertility. She has made her first appearance into the office with her new babies to introduce them to our team. Uh, when asked what she had named the boys, as up until this appearance she was undecided, she told me she was naming them Sean. Don't you have to sign your kids' birth certificates before you can take them from the hospital? She was naming them Sean. When I asked about the other baby, she said no, they are both Sean, one with an A and one with an E, so Sean and Scene. Seen. Oh dear lord. This coworker's last name is also Sean. When I pointed this out, she said yes, like Tom Tom or JJ or Mario Mario. I immediately and without thinking said, "That is the most idiotic thing we've heard, and it's going to be that is the most idiotic thing I've heard, and it's going to be so confusing." A bunch of people laughed, and a bunch immediately looked away. After she left, I got a few text messages saying it's not my place to comment on people's choice of name. Am I the asshole for saying that is a terrible naming idea? Edit additional information. No, they don't have middle names. She wanted their names to be like Tom Tom or JJ. That this is apparently not the first round of negative feedback she has had. We are on good terms. We have worked together across 3 companies over 12 years. She just said it'll grow on you. The names both pronounced Sean, like Sean. Verdict, not the asshole. Relevant comments. You're the asshole. That was incredibly rude, and you made others uncomfortable. It's the first negative feedback. She didn't ask for your feedback. And then OOP says it's not the first. She has had a few rounds of negative feedback before the office. Not that that excuses my behavior. And then top comments. Maybe I'm also an asshole, but if she can't handle the backlash for her kids' names, think about how her boys will feel growing up. Might as well start now because they're in for a childhood of jabs and jokes. Hopefully, she legally changes them after a good night's sleep in a few months. Not the asshole. Someone really should have told her they were stupid names before she used them. The names are dumb now and will age badly. She set those kids up for grief. Maybe it's rude to tell her the truth, but someone had to. And then someone responded, "Grief and bullying are in the future for these innocent twins. Other children will have no qualms or self-censoring when calling out the stupidity of the names. OP's rudeness is nothing compared to what is coming. This is a case where honesty should trump politeness, not the asshole." Not the asshole. Good luck keeping their records apart for the next 80 years. I feel sorry for their teachers, friends, future spouses, creditors, and law enforcement. Update 1, posted the next day, December 24th, 2021. Edit and update. My coworker's husband, who is also a coworker, saw the post last night. They had a good chuckle and ended up agreeing with the replies that the naming process wasn't ideal, and maybe the overwhelming process of having 2 newborns left them too tired to think straight. Despite the fact that they had already sent off the paperwork to both Deaths and Marriages Office, the place you lodge births for in Australia. They called up the Brisbane office, and the paperwork had only been provisionally processed due to Christmas time, and they've used this time to reassess. Um, they have redrawn the paperwork for scene only and will think of a new name, but they are keeping Sean as they like it. I've also been reported to HR for making this Reddit post, not by the parents. They think it's hilarious. So well, if it isn't the consequences of my actions. They also want everyone to know that calling her an idiot isn't the worst thing I've said to her this year, and while I'm definitely an asshole, that's more of an in general thing than tied to this situation. Happy holidays to everyone. New/final update, posted January 11th, 2022, 2 weeks later. Final update. A lot of people wanted an update post my meeting with HR for whatever reason, so here it is. But as expected, it was underwhelming. Met with HR yesterday, the 10th. Meeting was pretty brief and definitely a waste of everyone's time. They asked if I was aware of the company's social media policy. I said I was, and I'm fairly confident that I have not breached it. They agreed I hadn't and asked me to be more considerate of coworkers' feelings and to not put this meeting all over the internet. I said I'll definitely be doing an update and that I'll be sure to not call the next person naming their child Sean and idiotic. Again, I work in banking, and while there is a long way to go with fixing the culture across every banking organization, I think HR was just doing their thing and making sure I'm on notice in case I don't know, take a photo of me stealing candy from babies while wearing the company logo or something. If I ever have twins, I'm naming one Jean and the other Jorts. What? I can't believe she fucking buttered jorts. And then someone says the best flair ever IMO, and also they changed their flair too. I can't believe she fucking buttered jorts. Anyway, that was pretty freaking hilarious. Um, and yeah, that is pretty silly and ridiculous, and you should definitely think about the future of your two kids, your twin boys. Okay, I'm gonna try and find this this one story from this one flare, the I'm turning into an unskippable cutscene in therapy. So I'm gonna try and find it. So just hang on a second. Alright. I found it. The entire story is in r/slash best of weather updates. The original post, am I the asshole for refusing to spend time with my stepsister? Trigger warning, divorce, infidelity. Um, Original post, July 24th, 2023. Backstory: I'm 15, female. My parents divorced a year ago because my father cheated. He married the affair girlfriend like instantly. I think he's a complete jerk and told the judge I wanted to live with my mom, so I do, but they still said I had to go to my father's every other weekend. I don't want to see him, so I refused to go at first, but it was stressing my mom out with court stuff. I agreed to go as long as his wife is totally hands off and I can stay in my room and not be bothered except for one family activity of their choice. So that's where we are. Every other weekend, my dad picks me up, talks at me in the car because I won't talk to him. We go to family therapy where everyone but me talks. I stay in my room until sometime Saturday when I go out with them to do something fun, and then mostly stay in my room until my mom picks me up on Sunday. I have plenty of stuff to keep me busy, so I'm fine, but everyone else not so much. Their wife has kids, 12 female, 9 male, that would go to their dads on my weekends, but so I never saw them, but the schedule changed, so now they're there when I am. The 9 male is fine. He asks to borrow a video game now and then, but he's like polite about it and gives them back, so sure. 12 female won't leave me the fuck alone. Anytime I don't literally have my door locked, she's barging in, trying to talk to me or wanting to do something. I tried to tell her to leave me alone in a nice way, but last time I just up and told her I never want to talk to her and I'm just going to ignore her from now on. She cried about it. The fair wife got mad. My father said she's having a hard time with the divorce too, and I shouldn't take it out on her. I told him he could stop forcing me to visit them, and problem solved. Everyone is mad, but my mom says she gets it, so 12 female. My mom says she gets it, but 12 female is probably just looking for someone, not her parents, to talk to. I just don't see why it has to be me. Yeah, whatever. Who cares? Verdict, not the asshole. Okay, whatever. She doesn't want anything to do with you. So, okay. Edit. Okay, after reading everything and thinking about it for a few days, here's what I'm going to do. A lot of people suggested letting them have it in therapy, so tomorrow I'm turning into an unskippable cutscene in therapy. There is the flare. They want me to talk, so I've got a whole filibuster plan if I need it and no one else is getting a word in edgewise. My father will be addressed as cheater and a fair wife as adulteress from now on. If that doesn't get me dropped off back at my mom's, when the other two kids get to the house, they are going to be told everything about the cheating. I'm rewriting the lyrics to a really catchy song to be about my cheating father so I can sing it at him and get it stuck in his head if needed. Guess we'll see if that works better than ignoring them. Edit number two. It's been an intense weekend, y'all. I dropped all the nukes in therapy. My father nearly kicked me out of the session. My father nearly got kicked out of the session. He was big mad, but he wouldn't let me go home. As soon as the kids got to the house, I caught 12 female and apologized for snapping at her and told her I'd just been on edge a lot since her mom and my dad cheated, and that's why everyone broke up. She didn't know, so she started crying and yelled at her mom, and all hell broke loose. Ugh. leaving out the rest for reasons, but my mom came to get me, the cops got involved, and it turns out a fair wife said she would divorce my father ugh, if he brought me back to their house anyway, so at least for right now, I can stay at my mom's. I guess what happens next depends on what the court says, but I had to go talk to some people yesterday about what happened, plus I was able to record some of it, so I don't know, I hope it's enough for me to be free. Cheater Dad, shall we play a game? OP, how about global thermonuclear war? Cheater Dad, wouldn't you prefer a nice game of chess? OOP, later. Right now, let's play global thermonuclear war. Well, turns out if they did play chess, OOP would have her cheater father in checkmate. Alright, anyway, therapy in this case for them should be called arbitration. They want a professional to tell their kids that this new relationship is better and just smile and everyone will get along. What they don't actually want is input, questions, honesty, or hesitations or resistance from the kids. Kids, sign on the dotted line accepting these terms. The last time my mom dragged me in to see a therapist, she actually said, "She's broken, fix her." And when asked what that meant, she said, "She won't do what I tell her to," and made some complaints about the look on my face. That was the only therapist who even tried to talk to mom alone. She made it about 8 minutes before she exploded back out into the waiting room, screaming and hysterical, refused to ever talk to another therapist again, but made me keep seeing that one. Therapist said in sideways professional speak that my memory stored in teenager slang, "You're fine, your mom's nuts, but you have to live with her, so let's do what she wants and pretend like we're fixing you. You want to play a board game where we meet 3 times a week and slowly taper off into once a month group therapy?" Ugh, it would suck being a therapist in this situation. Of course, it sucks for the kid, too. I remember a teacher who worked with at risk kids talking about how these poor kids would be sent right back into a situation that would make anyone nuts. Of course, there was foster care, which might be better, but man oh man, kids need long term relationships. The therapist handled things as best as could be asked of her, reassuring the kid that they weren't the problem their mother was, and doing so in such a manner that the mother would keep bringing her kid to them instead of finding a new therapist that would reinforce her delusions. It also meant that the therapist could keep an eye on the kid and make sure nothing really harmful was happening and could step in if it did. Yeah, because I'm pretty sure therapists are like mandated reporters or whatever. Okay. Hang on. Mm, mhm. Okay. Um, Me, 22 male with my roommate of 1 year, a 23 male. I'm worried I might be homophobic towards him. I'm not the OP, this is a repost. Trigger warnings. One of the emotionally constipated people on Earth, otherwise none. Original by OP, May 10th, 2016. Okay, almost a decade ago. Wow. Alright, this was 9 years ago. Holy cow. That is forever ago. That is before COVID. That's insane. Uh, First things first, let me say that I've never thought of myself as being discriminatory before. I had a gay friend in high school and we made it through some tough times together. I never felt weird about him dating a guy. So all of this is coming out of nowhere. Alex has been my roommate for 1 year, and I pretty much knew up front about him being gay. At some point, we became friendly enough with each other that we could even joke about it. As in, sometimes he'll pretend to flirt with me and I'll pretend to flirt back. I'm straight and he knows that, but I don't feel threatened by him flirting with me, and he says most straight guys do. The problem started because of this. Alex brings guys home sometimes. At the start, I thought I was okay with it since it's really not my business who he sleeps with. He's usually discreet enough about it that I don't see or hear anything I wouldn't want to see or hear from anyone else, but for some reason I've started feeling weird if I even see him with other guys. I don't know when it started, but one time that really sticks out to me is when I came home and saw him and some guy making out on the couch. I don't know how to describe what it was like to see that, except that for a moment I felt so bad I thought I was going to throw up. Alex was embarrassed. He didn't think he'd be back for a while, but he didn't think I'd be back for a while. But I told him it was okay since I was embarrassed too. I feel bad for being as disgusted as I was, since there's no good reason for me to have a reaction like that. I thought maybe they just caught me by surprise and that's why I reacted so strongly, but it turned out that it wasn't a one time thing. After that, every time he has a guy over, not that often, but every once in a while, I just start feeling like shit and wishing that guy would leave, and I can't stop thinking about what these guys might have done to him, even though I don't want to imagine that. It makes me really uncomfortable and grossed out. And these are just guys he fools around with. I don't know what I'd do if he ends up getting an actual boyfriend. Damn, if you can see where this is going, then you are less surprised than me. Alex has started to notice, and it's affecting our friendship. The other day, I came home right when some guy was about to leave, and the guy tried to be polite to me, but I ended up being rude to him. I don't remember what I said, but it was really obvious I was pissed. When the guy left, Alex asked me why I was being such an asshole. I didn't know what to say, but then he asked if I had a problem with him sleeping with other guys. I said no. For some reason, that pissed him off more, and he said I can't complain since I used to bring my fuck buddy over, and he was forced to see me being affectionate with her sometimes. I was in a friends with benefits situation with a girl in the early days of me and Alex living together, but I broke it off after a few months and I haven't done anything with anyone since. I wonder what's going to happen. Just that was sarcasm. I know exactly where this is going. Um I agreed with him and told him I was just having a bad day and I don't care who he sleeps with, but he looked more upset and told me he's going to a friend's place to cool off. I said okay. When he was leaving for some reason, he casually said, "And you'll be okay if I sleep with him as long as I do it at his place and not ours, right?" Or something like that. I told him it's none of my business what he does at someone else's place, but when he said that, I felt sick to my stomach and couldn't stop thinking about it. Um, he didn't show up later that night, even though he was supposed to hang out with me and my sister. He's never blown me off before, and it made me feel like shit. But part of it was my fault since I made him feel like I was judging him for sleeping with guys. Now he's acting like nothing happened, but I'm worried I might mess things up if it happens again. I want to keep him as a friend, but he'd be hurt if he knew that whenever I think about him with other guys, it disgusts me. How do I deal with this? I've never been homophobic, but I suddenly developed some kind of homophobia where just the idea of my roommate's sex life makes me uncomfortable. And I don't react like this to other gay people either. It's just Alex. I don't know if this means I'm only okay with gay people as long as I'm not living with them or what. Does anyone else have experience with this? I want to get over myself and stop whatever this is, but if I can't, I'm going to have to leave since the last thing I want to do is hurt Alex. And if I stay here and keep automatically judging him for his lifestyle, that's what's going to happen. And then, too long didn't read. Are you sure that weird feeling isn't jealousy? Relevant comment. I mean, this only seems to revolve around Alex specifically. I thought about that, but I don't know what I'm meant to be jealous of. He definitely has a more active sex life than I do, but reacting like this to something like that seems really strange and irrational. But we humans aren't always rational. Are you 100% sure you're not into him at all yourself? It's also possible to have weird homophobic reactions to Alex only, but I guess there'd be something more under the surface. If it was possible for me to be into him, wouldn't I have been into other guys before this? Alex likes to say that sexuality is fluid, but he also talks about knowing he was gay since he was pretty young. So what you're saying seems kind of strange since I was only into women before. I mean, there's a first for everything. Oh well, there's always the first one, smiley face. Everyone is different. Alex may have been aware of himself since forever, but that doesn't mean everyone's like that. Tons of people realize they're not 100% straight much later in life. I was 24 when I first fully realized that. Is your disgust directed at Alex or the other guys? Because from reading your post, it seems that your feelings toward Alex are the same, and that's kind of why I thought maybe you're not 100% straight in this case, lol. Alright. It's hard to pinpoint, but I think it's mostly the idea of him being with other guys that makes me feel disgusted. I think it's just them I resent. I can't imagine being disgusted by Alex specifically. Not really sure what to say to the rest of that story. I might need to think about this. Update May 25th, 2016. Wait, how long was this after the original? Okay, 15 days. Hmm. The day I made the post, I met up with my sister Laura, who's 24, and showed her the post. She read the whole thing and called me an oblivious walnut and said it sounds like I have a crush on Alex. The same conclusion some of you came to in the original post. Anyway, she talked me through it and we confirmed I'm not as straight as I thought I was. She also pointed out something in my original post, where I said the more I tried to reassure him I didn't mind who he slept with, the more he got upset. Also, how he brought my old friends with benefits situation into it. Yeah, sounds like he's into you too. I just thought he was understandably mad with me for being an asshole, but Laura thought it sounded like maybe Alex wanted me to be jealous. We moved on from that topic pretty quickly though, since I couldn't really handle the implications of that when I just started to understand that I like this guy. The next few days were mostly me sitting on my ass trying to wrap my head around everything. I was scared of messing up our friendship and losing him, but I was even more scared that I might just let this pass without saying anything. And then he gets a boyfriend, then I have to see him with another guy, etc. Because if that happened, I would probably have to end it anyway, since as we've established, I'm not great at dealing with him being with other guys. Probably could have planned it better, but I told him. Right after a Tarantino marathon, if anyone's interested, since nothing says romance like graphic violence. Yeah, definitely. I told him I'd been such a dick because I was jealous. I don't think he got what I was getting at because he just laughed a little and said I didn't have to be jealous since it wasn't like I'd have any trouble finding people to sleep with me. No clue how I explained, it's a blur. Luckily, he saw how nervous I was, so he knew I was serious. We talked. Long story short, all that flirting was real, but Alex didn't have any hope of it going further because of me being an oblivious straight guy. So he's been trying to get over me. He laughed really hard when I told him about how I mistook my jealousy for homophobia, and he teased me by saying he'd never expected me to be the jealous type. Then again, we both ended up laughing a lot out of nervousness and awkwardness. I've never seen him like that before since he's usually pretty confident. In the end, we agreed to maybe try something out and we kissed. Never kissed anyone with a beard before, so interesting experience, but also really good. Plot twist, it turns out I don't have any problem with Alex kissing guys if it's me he's kissing. Since then, we've kind of been easing into the whole dating thing, I guess. I know this place is worried about roommate relationships, and I get why, but it's been great so far. We had our first proper date last weekend, and it was incredible, though a bit weird, since we've done that 1,000 times already, and this time there was a new context. At home, we still do our normal thing, but sometimes we get distracted. Last night, I almost burned dinner because I had to kiss him and we got kind of carried away. Haha. We're taking the sex thing slow, though, since I've never done anything with another guy before. I'm a little worried about coming out to my family as and my other friends, especially since this is almost as new for me as it would be for them. My parents love my parents are very open-minded and my mom especially loves Alex, but I have some more conservative family members on my dad's side and I can already imagine them blaming Alex for turning me gay. They can also be pretty racist. Laura's boyfriend is Latino, so she knows all about that, and Alex is mixed. It's something to think about in the long term, I guess. Alex has said he doesn't expect me to jump out of the closet right away, but if we end up calling ourselves a couple, then I'm not going to keep him a secret or anything. So we're trying, and I'm not a homophobe, and nobody needed therapy. Honestly, I can't remember the last time I was this happy, and I never would have expected this when I made that first post. It's a good thing some of you picked up on the actual problem and tried to get it through to me despite me being an oblivious walnut, so thanks, guys. And then the commenter who commented on the last post telling him he was gay, the one that we read. He says, "Oh man, I'm so happy my suspicions turned out to be true and everything turned out well. Kind of funny how how your sister shared my thoughts exactly. I just didn't want to scare you with being too straightforward in your last post, lol. Thanks for the update." Yeah, you totally called it before anyone else. I actually reread my comment thread with you and cringed a little at how clueless I sound. Me? Jealous? Why would I be jealous? Haha, fortunately I have my head on straight now, or not straight, you know what I mean. Thanks a bunch. Post. Note, the first post was flared as non-romantic, which is hysterical given the update. The two posts were deleted by the author, but you can still see their responses on their Reddit profile. Text provided via a write-up on Gay Star News, also deleted but recovered via Wayback Machine. Original post. I'm worried that I might be homophobic. Update. Yes to the homo, no to the phobic. Yes to the homo, no to the phobic. May I please have this for my flair? It's amazing. Oblivious Walnut is also a keeper. And these people have yes to the homo, no to the phobic, and Oblivious Walnut flares, respectively. So I guess they put those in there. I kind of want to read his original posts and responses and stuff. So we're gonna go back and I'm gonna see. Okay, the post is deleted, but we've got the original posts. You've got all these points. We've got all these posts. Alright. So there's all the original posts from the comments that we already read, and then someone else responds, just wanted to say that I got the jealousy vibe as well, especially Ari, the disgust being directed specifically at the other guys, but you still enjoying your one on one time with Alex, not being uncomfortable with him, and not having any problem with other gay people before being gay. Before I realized I was a lesbian, I fucking hated my best friend's boyfriends. It didn't matter how nice they were, I never wanted to see anything PDA-ish from them. Didn't really want to see them together at all, or think about the fact that she was dating slash fucking anyone. Spoiler alert, I was in love with my best friend. If you don't mind me asking, how did you end up figuring that out? Um, Things were always ever so slightly jokingly flirty between us, and one day we were hanging out with her boyfriend, du jour, to my chagrin. She wanted to kiss me in front of him to impress him because of that whole straight guys find girls making out super hot thing, and I strongly resisted, overtly because I was raised in a very homophobic area and thought it would be wrong subconsciously in hindsight. Because I was deeply afraid the jokes weren't really as joking as I thought. She went, "Fine, fine, you party pooper," and left alone, and I assumed that was the end of it, but then a little while out of nowhere, she shoved me against a wall and started kissing me. I had instant butterflies, this perfect melting sensation that I'd never had kissing anyone else in my life before, and just instantly went, "Oh shit, I'm gay, I'm in love with her, fuck my life." Like, accepted. Dramatic awakening. Did your friend realize what was going on? If you ever told her that's when you figured it out, how did she feel about it? I did tell her a while later after I was sure. Very long story short, she freaked out and switched gears into full blown vitriolic homophobia, and it destroyed the friendship. It's okay though, it wasn't a particularly healthy friendship to begin with, and I later ended up with unquestionably the best girlfriend I could ever ask for. We're very happy. Thanks for sharing, and sorry you had to go through all that, even though things turned out well in the end. I'm sure it hurt at the time. Glad you found happiness. Yeah. We got this. A new story just popped up for Best of Winter updates, but I think I'm gonna take a break because I've been recording for about an hour, so I'm gonna go do that and take a break. I need it, and then I'll be back later. Hey guys, I'm back. I know it's Saturday, but my mom is away, so I'm setting up some stories to read. Um, and the first one is from Best of Redditor updates. Am I the asshole? Am I the asshole for buying myself an Xbox when my boyfriend said he got me one for my birthday last year? Trigger warning, manipulation. Uh, Original post, May 16th, 2025. My boyfriend, 20, and I, 24, have been dating for about a year and a half now. We're long distance, and he's been out here to visit me about 4 times for weeks at a time. Last year on my birthday in June, he had told me he got me an Xbox. I was really excited because I've had mine since 2016. We met for the first time last October. He didn't bring it with him that time. No big deal. He only had a small bag that time. Fast forward to December, he came out for Christmas. He bought a bigger bag and even asked if we could bring his PS5 so we could play games together, and I said yes. After Christmas, he went home and I asked about the Xbox. Whenever I asked him, he got frustrated and said I was nagging him about it, but he'll just send it to me in the mail. A few weeks go by and nothing. So I ask him again and he gets really upset again. He said it was in a box under his bed and he didn't really want to deal with it right now. It got to the point where I just said that it didn't matter whether or not he bought it, I just wanted to know. We got into a huge fight about it again, and I told him I wanted proof that he actually had it. He sent me a picture of the box. I was suspicious about it because he had mentioned to me before that his best friend had the same Xbox I wanted. So in my head, I was thinking that he had just taken a picture of his friend's old Xbox box. But I promised him I'd let it go after he sent the picture, so I didn't bring it up. That was sometime in January. My birthday is coming up again, and we were on the phone and he was talking about things to get me. For his birthday, I had gotten him a game and a vinyl wrap for his PS5, so I told him I had a wrap for the Xbox. A wrap for the Xbox would be cool, by way of hinting that I wanted my Xbox, and he said no and then he'd think of something better. I promised him I wouldn't bring it up again, but it's been almost a year. He's coming out for my birthday, so I thought maybe he'd bring it. We were texting about my gift the other day, and he had mentioned he needed to buy what he was getting me, so to me it sounded like he wasn't bringing it. I've been wanting this Xbox for so long, and I was sick of waiting, so I went looking on eBay and bought one. It's coming this weekend, so I had to tell him. I told him not to be mad, but I bought myself the Xbox. I tried to explain my reasoning and that I didn't want to wait anymore because my Xbox now barely works. but he got so mad at me and just said that was a fucking waste of $500, so I offered to pay him back for it, and he said he doesn't want my money. Now he's really upset with me, and it has me questioning if it was messed up that I ended up buying the Xbox for myself. That is so messed up. That is legitimate gaslighting. Like, he obviously either doesn't have the Xbox or doesn't want to give it to you for some reason. I'm guessing he simply doesn't have the Xbox. Some of OOP's commenter, not the asshole, that Xbox doesn't exist. He just wanted brownie points without making the brownie. Also, him getting mad over it every time is kind of a red flag. So I'm not one to say break up, but consider if he's actually worth this. OOP, yeah, I was dreading telling him that I got it, but he's younger, so I figured that maybe he's got that mindset that he needs to get me expensive gifts to keep me, even though I made it clear that I don't need gifts like that. To a deleted comment, OOP, downvoted. Other than him possibly lying about the Xbox, we haven't had that many big issues. We both did end up giving each other good Christmas gifts. It's just the Xbox that has been a big problem. Commenter, I know you guys are long distance, but just curious, in the past year, why did you not visit him and collect it? OOP, I haven't had paid time off to be able to go out there. I had to take medical leave, so I used all my hours right before. Update, same post, 8 hours later. Update, he ended up sending a long text this morning about how pissed he was and then it was stupid that I bought it for myself. He was going to bring it. The only reason he didn't tell me was because it was supposed to be a surprise for my birthday. He said he's pissed because he bought more accessories for the Xbox too, so he spent well over $600. But now that I bought one for myself, I should keep it, and he's not going to give me anything he got. I told him that he should have just sent it in the first place, and it wouldn't have got to the point where I had to buy it myself. I also explained that I didn't need expensive gifts and that if he didn't get it for me and just wanted to impress me, he should have told me when I gave him the opportunity to come clean. Or, not lied about it in the first place. That would have been better. He explained the reason everything was so expensive was because I like gaming and Legos, which are expensive, so it wasn't to impress me. He apologized because he made me so upset about it for so long, and that he didn't think about it because it was under his bed. I told him I felt like he never listened or cared about it because I had nagged him multiple times about sending it, but he somehow still forgot. He apologized for being lazy and making it seem like he didn't care about it, how he should have brought it in the first place, and that he was wrong for not doing that. I'm even more conflicted at this point. Maybe I should have just waited for my birthday, but it genuinely sounded like he wasn't going to bring it. OOP's comments to a longer comment. I think a video call would be a really good idea. At this point, I really do feel like he's just been lying this whole time. Commenter, can you bring what he bought for you and you return the one you bought? OOP, I think that's what he would have suggested if he actually had the Xbox. After this morning, I really don't think he has it. Final update, a same post. 10 hours later, 18 hours from the original post. Final update, I ended things with him today. I couldn't do it on the phone, so I did it over text. Everything he said proved that you were alright. He's trying to manipulate me back into the relationship, but I'm at my breaking point. Thank you for all your help on this. And then a commenter says, it really doesn't make any sense. If I bought someone an expensive gaming console, I would be excited to give it to them. It is extremely unlikely that I would forget to bring it with me on a visit. Even if I somehow forget to bring it on the first visit, there's no way I would not only forget it on the next visit, but the next three visits. He definitely never bought it. The only question I have is whether he just wanted the credit without paying, or if this was some elaborate attempt to prevent OOP from owning an Xbox at all. Yeah, I'd like to believe he just wanted the credit without any effort, but In can easily believe got joy out of simply withholding something she wanted, unfortunately. Can't confirm your first paragraph. My brother and I went halfsies on the PS5 for my husband. It was so hard not to tell him, especially with him wanting it so bad, but it was worth it on Christmas when he opened it. I'm wondering if maybe he fell for one of those eBay listings that are for just the box. Felt like he was getting a great deal, told her he bought it, then was too embarrassed to fess up when he realized he was scammed. It's possible, but also really convoluted. Most likely he just never bought it. The fact that he brought his PS5 but didn't bring it is hilarious. Can't get any more cut and dry than that. I would have just ordered it on. What just happened? My phone. Oh, shit. Hang on. Shoot. Great. Now I have to. It just closed out of the Reddit app. Hang on. I have to go back to the story now and scroll through all this crap and find the. Okay. I would have just ordered it online and had it shipped directly to them if I was long distance. Then I wouldn't have to worry about transporting it myself or shipping it myself. Dude never had the Xbox to begin with. OOP is better off without him. I don't know why this comment isn't more popular. This is exactly what I was thinking. Everyone was talking about how we didn't send it. I dated someone like this. There was a necklace I was going to buy myself, but they said it was coming for my birthday. Exciting. My birthday came and went. More time goes by. I asked if they should contact the seller. More excuses. I bought the necklace myself and started wearing it. Took them about 6 days to recognize it, and then they got mad at me. I told them if they could produce a receipt, I would apologize. Yet, obviously, that relationship did not work out, and I'm extra angry because the necklace is so cute, and I never want to wear it now because it reminds me of someone who was so weird to me. Good lord, what a jackass. Start wearing that necklace and make new memories with it. You deserve it. I wore it for about 6 months after I dumped the idiot, but it just kept reminding me how stupid all of my exes has been. LOL. I should get a different one from the same seller though. These aren't diamonds, it's a person on Etsy who makes cormalated quartz stuff, which is the reason number 500 that this makes no sense because the necklace is only like $60 and they were making 150,000 a year. At this point, I just think it's not even that I date stupid people. They must end up actively dumber through the process of dating me. Maybe that necklace should be a reminder, could be a reminder of when you put yourself first. Yeah, I've been getting rid of a lot of my old books. I was going to get rid of one, but decided to keep it. I got it on a really shitty Christmas where my dad's gift was some money, a passive aggressive letter, and a guilt trip. I was supposed to feel broken over it. Well, screw that. I went out with my sister, and one of the things we got was that book. When I look at it, I don't think of the stunt my dad pulled, but my refusal to let him ruin my day. Wow. Good for you, OP. Um, Alright. Um, the next post is from r/family. My dad has a secret girlfriend and my mom has no idea. My dad is still married to my mom, but my sister, 26, female, and I, 24, female, recently found out he has a full-on girlfriend. Not just an affair, but a real relationship. He's with her every weekend, takes her on trips, and even told her he loves her. Part that also really disgusts me is that she is 25 years old. My mom has no idea. It's devastating. My mom gave up everything to move to another country for him. Her job, her whole life in the US, and now she works a low paying job where he's living a double life. And the worst part is, he thinks we don't know. I don't have a very close relationship with my dad, and this makes it even harder. But my sister and I have already decided we're going to tell my mom. I do want her to divorce him. I know it's going to hurt, but she deserves better. She made huge sacrifices for his career and our family, and I truly believe she can get financial support through a lawyer. The house, cars, and a lot of the assets are in her name. I think she'll be okay in the long run. I just want her to know she has options and she's not stuck. If anyone's been through something like this, how do you tell someone the truth when it could break their heart but maybe also set them free? Thanks for reading. Short update. I spoke to a lawyer today who explained that since my dad is the main provider and my mom has a modest job but lives well because of him, she could receive good alimony in a divorce. Proving infidelity would be tough without solid evidence, but a peaceful divorce could still work in her favor. I haven't told her yet. I'm waiting until Friday so she can have the weekend to process it. We'll give an update when I have one. Alright, wait. It's literally Saturday. Oh, never mind. This was posted 4 days ago. I'm curious if there's an update. Let's check if there's an update. Okay. My dad has a secret girlfriend. Okay, yeah. Hmm. What is this? Surviving infidelity. Uh, oh, OP posted on r/surviving infidelity. I think my dad is cheating on my mom, and I don't know how to deal with it. My parents have been married for 30 years. My mom was with my dad through everything. When they had nothing, she stood by him and helped build the life they have now. Today, my dad owns a successful business and they're still together, but things have changed. For over a year now, my dad has been leaving the house multiple times a week, saying he's going on business trips. He's always been a workaholic, so at first it didn't seem strange, but lately it's become obvious that something is off. He comes home really late and sometimes not at all. Once my sister and I found a random piece of clothing in the house, something that looked like it belonged to a woman with very different tastes than either of us. My mom thought it was ours, but it wasn't. Another time we found a used condom in the trash while my mom was out of town visiting family. That felt like a punch to the gut. We're pretty sure he's cheating, and what hurts even more is that I think my mom knows but is pretending not to. She once told me she would never divorce my dad, no matter what. She insists she's fine and not lonely, but my sister and I can tell she's hurting. We try to spend as much time with her as we can, But we're both busy with our own lives and moving out soon, and I feel terrible about leaving her alone with all this. The reason I think she knows is because in the past they used to go to swingers groups together. My dad was always the one pushing it, and I don't think it was ever really her thing, more something she tolerated to keep the peace or make him happy. It feels like over time she just let him do whatever he wanted. I only know about this because when I was younger, my dad used to leave the computer open and I came across some of these conversations. But now it feels like it's crossed a line. It's no longer something consensual or mutual. It just feels disrespectful and out of control. She told me the other day he was going on a business trip, but I lent him his iPad, and I can see that he's not where he said he was. I don't know how to feel. Angry, sad, helpless? It's all of it. Has anyone been through something similar? How did you handle it? Let your mom handle it. Don't assume she knows. Tell her. You have no idea the amount of excuses and justifications that came up when my spouse was lying to me. If I look back at the denial now, I'm shocked. Your mom might be in the same place. I think you need to tell her what you know and of you and your sister's concerns. Okay. There's actually a lot of stuff here. Let's actually I want to see this. Okay, OP posted something else. Am I the asshole for not telling my parents about my boyfriend until 6 months later? I, a 23 female, have been dating my boyfriend, 28 male, for 6 months, and we've been friends for 2 years. I chose not to tell my parents about our relationship until we become official because they can be quite nosy. I wanted to avoid them bombarding me with countless questions until I was certain about the longevity of our relationship. Now that they know, especially my mom, they seem resentful and are making a big deal out of it. They are making me feel guilty for not telling them. Am I the asshole for not telling my parents about my boyfriend until 6 months later? Not the asshole. You're an adult. Your love life is yours to keep quiet if you want to. Not the asshole. I'm going to tell you how I feel as someone who is a mom to a 21-year-old and 16-year-old. You are an adult. You have the right to live your life as you see fit. Grow, make mistakes, learn new hobbies, meet new people, etc. If my son said, Mom, I want to introduce you to this person I had been seeing for a few months and I never knew he was with anyone, I would honestly wonder why he hadn't said anything previously, but I wouldn't ask. Because it is his life and his choice, and whatever his reasons were, they were valid to him, and it isn't about me. Not telling them is your choice to make, however, and whenever you see fit. I get they could feel hurt, but there is no reason for them to behave in any other way than happy that you are happy. Definitely not the asshole. You don't have to share anything with them that you don't want to, especially if you're not comfortable with doing so before you're ready. It's your life, and you get to choose what they know and when they know. Setting boundaries is the best thing you can do. Okay. Not the asshole for keeping it quiet, but depending on how much you chat with them about your life, may have them feeling you were straight up lying to them for like 6 months. Okay. You and s and then there's one person that says you're the asshole, you lied to them for 6 months, they no longer trust you. This guy's been downvoted, so it tells you pretty much everything you need to know. Okay. There's a lot. Alright. I think that's about all I want to read from this person. And going back to the original post on I/family, I'm going to read some comments here. Please put aside the emotions and first thoroughly research the divorce and property laws of where you are and whether other laws apply. It would suck if your mom ended up having to give assets to your cheating father or pay alimony. Please do this thoroughly research before, including consulting with a lawyer before you tell your mother. This will be a gift to her. She will have the emotional devastation and then also have to confront him or not, her choice, and then the legal financial. Again, it will be a gift and support her to have done the legal and financial piece first. I say this is a divorced woman. Good luck. This is really good advice. This is great advice, but I would add that no matter what you find legally, your mother should be told the truth. She deserves that. She shouldn't continue to support a man in his side piece. She should have the full truth of what she has sacrificed and the truth to move forward in her own life any way she sees fit. It is great that she will have the support of her two daughters in whatever she decides moving forward, and knowing she doesn't have to face this alone. 100% agree with the other commenter saying to look into the legal aspect of the divorce for her to ensure she can keep as much as possible under her name. When you tell her, she'll be heartbroken, and doing that research herself would be so difficult. I don't, however, agree with the idea of telling your dad to tell her before you do for two reasons. One, it gives him time to delete evidence and twist the story, and two, it gives him time to potentially anticipate a divorce and get a head start on, for example, withdrawing money from a joint account. He's a bad person and gross for being with a woman your age age. Why in the world would you give him that advantage? He doesn't regret his actions in the least. He doesn't deserve shit. Also, side note, unfortunately, your mom might be in a state of shock and denial at first. Your sister and you should present her with this information, with evidence, and explain how you know. Someone says, I am starting to get a little BS meter tingle. You posted 25 days ago another long story about you think he is because of reasons, then went on to say your mom and him went to swinger clubs and that your mom said she wouldn't leave him and that she probably knows, but now you're willing to look up all the legal info for her because some Reddit poster said so. It's just not adding up. I swear Reddit is showing up with some real core story vibes lately. I guess it was always inevitable with the thumb addict approach. I really hate it when people like announce that anything is fake on Reddit and these are people's lives, so whatever. And then, I'm sorry my life sounds fake to you, OP responds. I honestly wish it was. I shared what I knew at the time, and things have changed since then. I found out about the girlfriend 4 days ago, and that's when everything started to feel different. It's pushed me to consider what to do next. I'm not here to write a dramatic story. I'm here because this is painful and I don't have all the answers. I'm trying to process a really complicated situation in real time. If you think my life is just a joke, feel free to scroll past. I'm not here to prove anything to anyone. That is the perfect response. And then another commenter says, You tell your dad to tell her by the weekend or you're going to. Thank you. I've thought a lot about it and I've decided I'm not going to go to my dad first. I don't trust him enough to know how he'll react, and I'm not willing to give him the chance to manipulate the situation or hide things. My plan is to quietly get legal advice first so I can protect my mom as best I can, and then I'll tell her. I want her to have options and support, not just emotional shock. I really appreciate everyone's input. It helped me feel more grounded in making this decision. People are saying good luck and stuff. Uh, mm, trying to find some other stories. Um, mm, mm, um, hmm, mm, mm. I'm just trying to find some other stories. Think I'm just gonna go to think I'm gonna go to my save posts. Actually, let's check out what's r/family. Mm, all right, I'm gonna see what's in my save posts. There's a lot of stuff in there. Mm. All right, another Best of Reddit update story because currently most of these stories are from Best of Reddit updates at this point. I just have a bunch of them saved and they happen to be at the top of the page. I think this is gonna be the last one that I do for today. Am I the asshole for leaving the weekend friend trip after being made to sleep on the couch? And this one's marked as concluded. I am not OOP. Am I the asshole for trigger warnings, manipulation, and possible biphobia? Original post, May 6th, 2025. I, a female 29, and Josie, female 30, have been friends since high school. We live apart but still keep in very regular contact. I was invited to stay with her and her husband Leo, male 30, for a few days because their town was having a huge annual festival that we were all interested in attending. They had asked me to come earlier this year. Maybe a month or so before, informed me they invited some college friends to stay for the weekend as well. I was excited for this because I've only met their college friends a handful of times, and I know they are really close. The plan was for me to stay Thursday to Monday. I should also preface that when Josie and Leo bought their home, I stayed with them for a month while I was between jobs. This was many years ago now, but since it has been dubbed my room, it is obviously not actually mine, but I've stayed in it every time I've visited them since. I drove 4 hours to their place on Thursday. When I arrived, their college friends were there already, and I was shocked to see it wasn't just them. Josie and Leo had invited their friend Shane and his fiance, and their friend Sarah and who Josie was not invited on this trip. I tried to get over the awkwardness and exchange pleasantries until I went to go upstairs and put my bag away, and Josie and Leo stopped me and told me that Shane and his fiancée were staying in that room. I was like, whoops, my bad, I should not have assumed, and asked if I was in the other, smaller guest room. They said no, Sarah and her husband were in there, and they told me then that they hoped I was okay with sleeping on the couch. I was really trying to not be too annoyed or cranky about this, but I had just given 5 hours and was under the impression that I was getting a bedroom for the weekend, mostly because we had this weekend planned for months and they had never mentioned otherwise. I would not have been opposed to a couch sleep for maybe one night, but there was no way I was going to sleep on the couch for the entire weekend, especially since we'd be drinking and partying pretty heavily. I asked them why they didn't tell me plans had changed so I could get a hotel sooner, and they insisted they didn't think I'd have a problem sleeping on the couch. Apparently, Sarah and her husband were planning on getting a hotel, but waited too long and couldn't find an affordable one last minute. At this point, I was really irritated, both by the partner situation and the sleeping arrangements. I called Oliver, and he was upset for me. We both looked for hotels in the area, but could not find anything affordable for the entire weekend. Uh, I told Oliver about the couples, and he was annoyed to not be invited, since he likes Josie and Leo a lot. Finally, after like an hour of back and forth, Oliver asked if I wanted to come home, and I honestly really did. I privately told Josie and Leo I was uncomfortable by the situation, wished everyone a good weekend, and drove back home. I got a call Saturday morning from Josie, and she said she was really disappointed that I had acted so rashly, and she wished that I had stayed. I told her that I didn't understand why she didn't update me on on the sleeping situation as soon as she knew about it, and she told me the only reason I was booted to the couch is because Sarah and her husband both couldn't fit. So then I asked her why she didn't invite Oliver if she had invited the other couples, and she just said sorry they hadn't thought about it. I told her that I was upset and hurt by the situation and I didn't regret leaving. I received another message from her last night saying everyone had left, and she was really disappointed in me and that I had ruined her weekend because she was upset the entire time. Well, okay, her feelings are, her problem. It's weird that she was upset about it the entire weekend. She could have just, you know, been like, well, that happened and it sucked, but I'm gonna move on from it and enjoy my weekend. That's not your problem. I'm starting to feel bad and also FOMO from not being there. I'd been really looking forward to the festival and hanging out with everyone. Anyway, am I the asshole for leaving? Edit. As I am reading through the comments, I'm untangling some of the feelings I was having. I am upset by being assigned to the couch, especially because it was last minute and I was not told beforehand. An entire weekend of partying with an uncomfortable sleeping arrangement and no privacy really sounded miserable. I am not 22 anymore, but I do think I am more upset about Oliver's exclusion and just didn't piece it together, really held onto the couch as an excuse. It really did feel like it was made into a couple's weekend, and somehow Oliver and I were excluded from that. I hated immediately feeling like the seventh wheel. Edit 2, I did not know Shane and Sarah's partners were going to be there, literally until I walked in and saw them. Am I the asshole has no consensus bot? And OOP received mixed reactions. Commenter 1 says, everyone sucks here, you just assumed you'd have a bed, you should have asked. This entire weekend sounds poorly planned and a lot of assumptions on everyone's part. Driving 5 hours only to turn around right away is pretty dramatic. You could have stayed one night, you even said one night on the couch would be fine and gone home the next day. OOP, I assumed I had a bed because the original plan was for me to have a bed. When we made the plans in January, we both confirmed that I would be staying in a guest room. Shane and Sarah were added to the trip in early April, and it wasn't until Sarah and her husband informed me they couldn't find a hotel, which to me, understanding was like a week before the trip, that Josie moved around sleeping arrangements and didn't tell me. Commenter 2, they should have told you in advance. It was foolish not to and avoidance behavior, but at the same time, I hope you can talk it out. Friends who take you in for a month during tough times don't sound like entirely horrible or malicious people. If it were me, I'd give it some cool down time and then reach out to hash it out with them calmly. OOP, we've been friends for 15 years. I know they're good people. I hate that we are upset with each other. I would really love for us to move past this. Commenter 3, info. How was it decided Oliver wouldn't come? Without knowing how that conversation went, it's tough to weigh in. When they first invited you, did they make it clear? How did they make it clear the invite was for you only? It's very unusual when two people live together to invite only one on a weekend away, especially when the only other people involved are also a couple. Did you say anything then? If you accepted without even checking in about Oliver coming, they may have gotten the impression there wasn't a lot of interest from you slash Oliver in him attending. Just need more info overall. The couch thing is definitely wrong. I've been there. I stuck it out, but it was only for one night, and there was no question of anyone being in the living room past like 10 p.m. You absolutely should have been given a heads up. OOP. When we made the plans back in January, it stemmed from Josie and I seeing the event advertised and agreeing it sounded fun. She invited me to come stay with her for the weekend. Her husband would be there, obviously, but it was definitely meant to be a girls' weekend, which we do at least once a year. I presented it to Oliver that way, and he told me to have fun. As far as I am aware, at some point Leo suggested inviting Shane, their college friend, which Josie told me about. She also mentioned that Sarah might be joining as well, since she'd heard about the event and was interested. At no point did Josie and Leo mention Shane and Sarah would be bringing their partners, or that sleeping arrangements would change. I've met Shane and Sarah maybe 3 or 4 times in the last 7 years. I didn't even have their cell numbers, so I have no idea what happened between them and Josie and Leo planning wise. I knew Sarah was married, but I didn't know Shane had just gotten engaged. So I was invited by Josie for somewhat a girls' weekend, and then eventually Leo invited Shane, and I assumed to have a guy friend and not be a third wheel, and then Sarah too. The weekend just had a vibe of a bunch of friends getting together. I 100% would have invited Oliver or asked if he could come if I knew Shane and Sarah were bringing their partners. Downvoted commenter says, "You're the asshole. You sound exhausting. The room is your room, but you don't expect it to be yours, but you're still upset that you couldn't have it. Here's a rent free place to lay your head at night that doesn't have all the incredible amenities you've come to expect by virtue of how spoiled you've lived your entire life. What counts as an affordable hotel? The prices that local establishments were asking should have alerted you to exactly what the cost of a room in the area for a weekend actually costs. But you expected a free room while dictating who can and cannot stay in a house you don't own. Then you worked yourself up into a further frenzy by entering an echo chamber with your significant other instead of just talking to your host about your disappointments. Your partner being left out could very easily have been a simple oversight. It is not necessarily a direct reflection of how your friends think of you or him. The whole issue could have been resolved with either a simple conversation before you chose to abruptly leave, or by you taking initiative to secure lodging that met your expectations independent of your friend's generosity. Get your head out of your ass and act like the grown up you're claiming to be. Okay. OOP. The reason I mentioned my room is only because it had been established that I'd be staying there early on in the planning. I know I am not entitled to the room. It is their house, and I would have not have had any problem not staying in that room. I also would have not have had a problem getting a hotel if I had been informed of the sleeping arrangements beforehand. At the point of me finding out Thursday afternoon, a large majority of the hotels in the area had been booked for the festival, and the rooms I could find were at least twice the price they normally were, and no hotel I called had consecutive availability for the weekend. I am sure this is the same problem Sarah and her husband ran into when they tried to book. Update May 15th, 2025, 9 days later. Long update ahead. I waited until the weekend to call Josie because I thought we could both use the time to cool off and think about the situation. I spent a few days posting through the comments. When we finally got on the phone, she was instantly apologetic for how the previous weekend went. But before we went further into the convo, I asked her to explain how we ended up where we did. So here are the events as she told it. Her and I made plans in January for me to come visit for this festival. Her husband Leo was only interested in like one day's events and wasn't planning on attending with us the rest of the time, so it was mainly a girls' weekend for us. Sometime in March, Leo mentioned the weekend to Shane, his college friend, who showed interest. Josie said it was Leo's idea to invite Shane, so he'd have someone to hang out with while her and I were busy with our plans. Josie and Leo told me at this point that Shane would be there for the weekend too. And then I guess a couple of days after that, Sarah, in the same college friend group, heard about the event from Shane, and her husband decided to go as well. Josie at this point told me that their friend Sarah would also be in town for the festival. She did not tell me Sarah was planning on staying at their house because they had originally planned on getting a hotel. Somewhere between Shane being added in the festival weekend, Shane proposed to his now fiance and then requested that she be added to the trip. The Monday before the trip, Sarah and her husband called that they couldn't find an unaffordable hotel and asked if they could just stay with Josie and Leo. When I asked Josie why she didn't just update me on the plans, she said she was feeling overwhelmed by all of the changes and worried that if I knew I would now be sleeping on the couch, I wouldn't come. She claimed that her and Leo looked for hotels for me, but also couldn't find anything affordable. She said she felt bad, she understood why I left, but she wished that I hadn't, and that she spent the entire weekend feeling awful. So she did apologize, and I also apologized for leaving abruptly without talking it out. I also felt how overwhelmed by the situation um, felt very overwhelmed by the situation, especially because I barely know Shane and Sarah, let alone their partners. That's the simplified version of that problem. Now, I also asked why they hadn't thought to invite Oliver. I said that I understood plans changed pretty fast, but there was a decent chunk of time where she knew all the couples would at least be at the festival, and she could have at least extended the invite. I said I wasn't buying the excuse that they forgot, especially since she just explained she was kind of purposefully keeping me in the dark in the hopes I wouldn't cancel. Josie admitted the last time all four of us were together, which was last September, Oliver made a pass at that made Leo really uncomfortable. It was a night that we had all been out drinking, and according to Leo, some of the conversation got around to the topic of Oliver's sexuality. He's bi, and Leo made a comment about not having any sexual attraction to men, to which Oliver responded, "Well, if you ever want to change that, let me know." I got off the phone to talk to Oliver. I knew that he would never cheat on me and that he probably meant it as a joke. Oliver said he remembered the night and said it was just a joke because he could tell Leo was uncomfortable with Oliver's past dating men and that he didn't think Leo took him seriously. Um, he offered to call Leo and smooth it over himself, but I told him to hold off because I didn't want to make the situation worse. I just told Josie privately that Oliver didn't mean to make Leo uncomfortable and that he was sorry, and she said she'd tell Leo that. So Josie and I are okay, even if things are still a little tense. I genuinely don't know what to do about the Leo Oliver situation other than let it smooth over with time. I only see Josie like 3 to 4 times a year, and Oliver sees them maybe 1 to 2 times a year. So hopefully the next time we all want to do something together, it can just be forgotten. Top comments. Commenter 1. The Monday before the trip, Sarah and her husband called that they couldn't find an affordable hotel and asked if they could stay with Josie and Leo. Josie needs to learn to tell other people no. She should have told them there was no more room available unless they wanted to sleep on the couch. Commenter 2. She's not your friend though. She purposely didn't tell you about the changes and thought you'd just stick it out. She also didn't talk to you about the situation between the guys. If she truly thought your boyfriend was trying to cheat with her partner, why wouldn't she tell you that? She let you waste time and money going there. She's a jerk, and I'm glad she spent the weekend feeling terrible. What she did was shitty. I hope you rethink this friendship. And then they called on the update me bot. Commenter 3. Yeah, this isn't nearly enough. This trip was you and her. How did you get thrown on the couch and people who signed up last minute and couldn't get a hotel got your room? That is the part that she hasn't explained. Why are you saying yes to all these people and telling them they have rooms when we don't? Why did you give away when did you give away my room? That's where she failed you. It's very easy to say, I'm sorry you guys can't find a hotel. You're more than welcome to crash with us, but all the rooms slash beds are accounted for. If you still want to come, you'll have the couch and the floor only. Maybe you can bring an air mattress. If you want to skip the trip over not getting the hotel, we understand. Your friend put every single one of those other friends before you. She relegated you the couch without even speaking to you, and hid the couch thing until you showed up so you wouldn't cancel. It's not okay. Her explanation doesn't explain why you got treated like a second class citizen, but all these other people were prioritized. Honestly, I would be taking some distance from this friendship in the future. You are not as important to her as she is to you, and she just showed you that. I would let it go. I would let there be a little distance. If she contacts you in the future about hanging out, you make sure before agreeing that 1, it includes your partner, and 2, you have confirmed space, privacy, or you make your own hotel reservations. Stop sharing a place with her. Alright. I decided to put you on the couch despite the fact you were the first one invited and I told you that you'd be in a guest room. Yeah, OOP has every right to be annoyed. Yeah, I feel like it's a first come, first serve situation. OOP was first in January, and this was in May, I'm pretty sure. This was a May weekend thing, right? Let's see. Yes, it was a May weekend thing. So that is about 5 months. January, February, March, April, May. Yeah, about 4 to 5 months. More like 4 months, about 4 months. So that is a lot of time to that. That's like way ahead of time. Like you plan stuff way ahead of time like that. And, and then these people who can't find a hotel at the last minute, I'm pretty sure they said it was Wednesday or Thursday before they went to the thing, or when they called and couldn't find a hotel, and you are prioritizing them over the person who you already promised a room 4 months ago. That's a pretty shitty thing to do. Um, Also, I knew that if you were fully informed about the situation, you wouldn't consent to this, so I chose to force your hand instead. I wasn't honest because I knew you wouldn't want to do it, and when you found out, you said you didn't want to do it, and now I feel guilty. How could you be such a bad friend? I would be mega irritated if a friend with two guest bedrooms invited me to stay, and then I discovered I'd be on the couch in a common area in a house with six other adults. When a friend with two guest rooms invited you to stay, the assumption is that you're staying in a guest room. Whoever is saying OOP shouldn't have expected that is nuts. Sleeping on a bed is the default. The correct course of action here would have been for the couple who waited too long to book a room, to bring an air mattress and sleep in the living room. Honestly, I bet if that had been the case, OOP would have offered to take the couch. Yeah, exactly. The way she did it was so manipulative. Like, first off, having this last minute people take the guest room that you promised OP months ago. Secondly, trying to force you to, get what she wanted so that you would sleep on the couch and still attend the event. That's not an, oh, I care about you and I wanted you to attend the event and I wanted you to have fun with us. That's a, I want you to do what I want you to do. And, even though I offered someone a room that I offered to you months ago and then I switched you guys out. It makes no sense. Like, they can bring like an air mattress, or they can bring an air mattress, like you said, like the commenter said, or they can bring a sleeping bag. Sleeping bags are pretty cheap to buy, by the way, so one of them can just buy a sleeping bag and sleep on the floor, I guess. Like, it's not the best situation, it's an uncomfortable situation, but like, the two choices that they get are either they can sleep like on the couch slash floor, or they can find a hotel, or they can just not come to the event. But why would you give them a guest room that you promised to OP months ago? That's ridiculous. If that last couple couldn't fit on the couch, an air mattress is cheaper than a hotel room. And if OP's friend's husband was that upset, she should have reached out to OP. Close friendships work like marriages, kind of. It takes a lot of communication, and there is none coming from the host. I also doubt that expensive hotel rooms were the reason OP was on the couch. They purposefully did not invite her husband and put her on the couch because she was alone. That seemed very convenient. I bet they didn't invite OP's husband because they knew they had two couples staying over, and the couch in their world is good enough. Yeah, that part is really messed up too, like not inviting the husband. They expect you to think that they just forgot, oh, we were inviting couples, but somehow it slipped my mind that you have a husband and we forgot to invite him. This is stupid. No, that's BS. That is crap. I'm calling BS right now. That is not, no, you did not forget. That's not the kind of thing you just forget, okay? So anyway, I'm done with this for today, and I will be back later, and this is just gonna be a full 8-hour video, so I'm gonna be back right away for you guys. It's probably gonna be a day or two for me. I'll probably be back either tomorrow, depending on when I get up, or just Monday. Okay, bye. Hey guys, I'm back, and I had a very late, tiring grocery trip. I mean, we didn't even do that much, but I was really tired by the end of it. So we skipped the shelter again, and I have a lot of work to do, so I wanted to get back home. So, also, just so you guys know, it is very loud out there right now. It was very loud out there this morning, and I came back. I decided I wouldn't do any work and I would just come back later because I was hoping it'd be like more. Uh, I was hoping that it would be somewhat quieter when I got back, and it is not. And the construction that they're doing out there is actually getting a lot more intense. Like they have to tear up that entire side of the sidewalk, so we can't use our steps to get upstairs and downstairs anymore. Now we have to use the neighbor's steps, so that's obnoxious and annoying. Like, I'm so used to our steps, and it's very frustrating and off-putting to have to use the neighbor's steps. But at least we're better off than those guys at the other end of the building because they legitimately had to move out. Like, they couldn't stay. My mom said they all had to go to a hotel for a week, and apparently the city's paying for it because, they better be paying for it because they're forcing people to move out. If you're forcing me to move out, you better be paying for it. Luckily, we don't have to move out. Luckily, we're on the part of the building where we don't have to move out. So that's super lucky. It's been very loud all day. I mean, I wasn't here for a couple hours in the afternoon. I assume it was very loud, but yeah, basically everyone on that end had to move out. And when my mom told me about it, I suddenly got like all freaked out and worried, like, oh shit, are we gonna have to move out too? Like, how much notice did they have? And my mom said, and I was like, could we have to move out too at some point? My mom was like, no, no, they've known about this for months. So okay, I was really glad to. So like, yeah, I'm just really glad to hear that we don't have to move out. And we're not going to have to move out, and because I was freaking. The reason I was freaking out was because my mom said that I would have to, like, I wouldn't be able to keep my pets if they were doing work on the apartment and I couldn't find a place to, like, somewhere to put them, like, something to do with them. Which is very obviously I am not going to do that. There is no way in hell I'm doing that. So I would like be online and if it's not going to happen, but if it does happen in the next couple of years or so while I'm living here, like something like that happens while I'm living here, then I will know months in advance and I'd be like looking on all of my groups and trying to find a place to put them where I could give them a good home for a week, until I could have them back or whatever. Like try to find a temporary foster home for them or something until I could permanently take them home, or maybe just find a way to leave them here because I'm pretty sure if I fill the water dish, they can be left here. Anyway, I was freaking all out, but my mom was like, "No, no, we don't have to go anywhere, so it's cool. We don't have to like move out or whatever." And anyway, I just wanted to. Ooh, what is this? Sorry. Uh, FIM fiction just popped up on my radar. Oh, okay. That's cool. Alright. Anyway, I'm gonna do the Reddit thing now and read some more stories. And if it's loud out there, I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. And that's the way it's going to be for the foreseeable future. So I don't know, like, what's going to happen or when it's going to happen. Like, there's just going to be construction, and we're just going to have to be dealing with that because I don't know what else to do. I can't just not make videos while there's construction outside, so I'm literally just going to try and I'm just gonna try. I'm gonna try. All right. Yeah. We got a bunch of stuff here. All right. This one is from r slash am I the butt face, which is basically just r slash am I the asshole. Am I the butthole if I cheated on my girlfriend while she was recovering from a car crash? I don't even have to read the rest of this. Yes, you are. You cheat makes you automatically the butthole. I don't fucking care what your reasons are. Anyway, we've been together for almost 4 years. Before the accident, we were great. We laughed, we fought, we made plans. I thought we were solid. Then she got hit by a drunk driver. Hospitals, surgeries, months of recovery. The physical trauma was bad, the emotional toll was worse. Seriously, why are people like this? They're just like, well, I'm actually the victim, so it's okay for me to cheat. God, yeah, whatever. She changed, and maybe I did too. I took care of her full time, helped her bathe, clean, dress, held her hair while she vomited from meds, got up in the middle of the night to reposition her legs so she wouldn't scream. I don't say this to paint myself as some hero. I just want to be honest, because that's what this post is about, honesty. Okay. Thought this post was about justifying you cheating, but okay. It broke something in me. I don't know when. Maybe the fifth time she accused me of cheating because I was 5 minutes late. Maybe the night she told me I wasn't a man anymore because I wouldn't argue back. Maybe the moment I realized I missed being touched like a human instead of a nurse. So then break up with her! Break up with her! I cheated. The first time, it felt like stepping outside of a burning building just to breathe. I didn't love the person. I barely remember their name. Well, yeah, that makes it better. Total sarcasm. I didn't love the person. I barely remember their name. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't passion. It was quiet, numb, like watching someone else do it. It happened twice more. I never told her. She's getting better now. We even laugh again sometimes, but every time she says thank you for saying, I feel sick. I don't know if I was weak or just human. I don't know if what I did makes me a monster or if I was already becoming one while pretending everything was fine. What I do know is she loves me, and I don't know if I deserve that anymore. Ugh. For very first comment says, "Yep, complete and total asshole." And then the response, "Don't worry, this isn't even a real post. So many clear signs of ChatGPT. Wouldn't be surprised. What? I don't say this to paint myself as some hero. I don't think there's any chance anyone here will mistake you for a hero. Of course you're the butt face. So instead of seeking therapy, you decided to stick your dick in other people because you needed to feel human. Instead of leaving her because you didn't like how the relationship felt, you betrayed her trust. You're the butt face. Please let her know what you did so she can rightly leave your ass. Pathetic. Okay. Your issues are your issues are bigger than what Reddit can provide an answer for. She was awful to you, you were awful to her. The difference is that she doesn't know about your betrayal. Continuing to lie to her by omission is just delaying the inevitable. Why was she awful? Pain, misery, PTSD? Why was he awful? Oh, woe is me, no one to pleasure me. Yeah, you know what? That actually makes sense, even though I still don't think that justifies the way that she cheated on him? Yes, you were the butt face, especially for using AI to write this post. How did they know it's AI? Ugh, I'm so sick of saying people say it's AI. And then the OP responds, I'm not used AI. You accuse me without evidence. I'm not used AI. Interesting how the writing in the original post is grammatical, yet you lack that here. I wrote this comment in half a minute. What do you expect from me? Okay, this is just annoying. And then there's a fascinating post with an eyes emoji. I think if your relationship has any hope, you'll need to be honest with her at some point soon. The longer you hold on to it, the more of a betrayal it will be. Counseling, I think, before for you and couples together. Uh, I appreciate that, really, says OP. You're right, the longer I wait, the worse it becomes. I've been telling myself I'm protecting her, but maybe I'm just protecting myself. Thanks for not just jumping to hate, it means a lot. No, I totally understand why people would have a visceral reaction to this, but ultimately it only matters if you don't learn from it. And not in a preachy way, but more of a personal way. When you're honest with her, you give her back her power to make a decision. Okay, I don't think so. You're the butt face, but butt face is too nice a word. Interesting you think you should liken yourself to a hero at any point in this post. Well, you certainly don't deserve her anymore, but you can work towards being worthy again, depending on how redeemable she thinks cheating is. Seems like she wasn't treating you well while you were giving you everything, but at the same time, she was at her lowest then. You can't expect people to act rationally and not say mean things. Perhaps try talking to her, tell her the truth, and see how that goes. But in my opinion, the relationship is over. Some things are unforgivable. How on earth would you not be the asshole? You cheated on her. There is a reason that many cultures have the death penalty for that. They do? That's fucked up. I don't like cheaters, but the, the death penalty? And then OP says, I get that some cultures treat cheating as an unforgivable sin. Where I live, it's not ideal, but it's also not punishable by death, which gives people room to learn from their mistakes instead of being buried with them. And at the end, I am not even scared by hellfire because I'm an atheist. And then someone else responds, it wasn't a mistake, it was a choice. One you consciously chose to do multiple times. Okay, what is there? Okay, here there's another comment. I don't think you're a butt face. I'm probably going to be in the minority, but people don't know what it's like to walk in your particular shoes. What you do with this information might make you a butt face, though. If you want to stay, I recommend deleting this post, swallowing your guilt, and keeping your mouth shut forever. No reason to heap more trauma on this poor woman than she's already experienced. No! No way! And then someone replies, I'm with you on this. He fucked up, but under extraordinary circumstances. She fucked up too, but also under extraordinary circumstances. OP, I'm almost always in the fess up camp when it comes to cheating, but in this situation, you should keep your mouth shut if you want to continue the hell. You know, I don't get why that's like, why are people telling him to shut up? Ugh, why are people telling him to keep his mouth shut? Just give me a second. Okay. Alright. Alright. Sorry, just hang on. Because I'm trying to. Hmm. mm, That's not. Hmm. What is that? Hmm. Hmm. Okay. What? Someone posted on the Steven Universe subreddit. Steven Universe is now getting a soulless live action remake. What changes did they make that ruin it? What? Why did they ruin everything with a live action remake? I'm going to see the live action remake of Lilo and Stitch tomorrow, and there are definitely mixed things about it. I've heard mixed reviews. Like, some people say it's so good, other people say it's bad, and I've heard stuff said it is not a high bar at all. What is this? Okay. Anthony, Anthony, Anthony. Your name is Anthony. R/Anthony. Oh yeah, I forgot I used to be part of that sub back when I was gonna change my name to Anthony. Oh no, there's a ball python in a pet store. Uh, oh no. Okay, this is from r/ball python. Hi guys, I recently became responsible for the care of my cousin's ball python. Before I arrived, he was in a really filthy enclosure for ages and went weeks without any water. I'm concerned about any potential health impacts, but I've never had a snake before. Does he look okay to you? I cleaned his enclosure, fed him 2 adult mice yesterday, which he ate, so I'm guessing that means he's good? If anyone has any general tips on caring for him, please let me know. I am not sure if the picture you have him in is his enclosure. If it is, you need more greenery, hiding places, and a good base for humidity. From this angle, he looks a little bit on the obese side. Going forward, I don't suggest feeding 2 mice at once. NLP says, got it, thanks for the advice. Most likely a quarantine, hence the paper towels, but I agree that more clutter would do some good. It's okay to keep them on paper towels during quarantine, especially if they may have a wound or mites. Fake greenery, however, can help them too. Yeah, you shouldn't feed them 2 mice at once because they can regurgitate if you feed them too many prey items at one time. You're only supposed to feed them like one prey item at a certain time. So it's supposed to be once like every 7 to 10 days, depending on how often your snake eats. I've been feeding mine every week, and right now, he's eating the fuzzies, which are just one prey size up from pinkies. But I still had a couple pinkies in the freezer, and I would feed him one of them. Like, I think I blew through them in the past couple of weeks because he's not eating right now because it's breeding season, and they don't eat during breeding season sometimes. And he did this last year at the same time. Like last year, like when I had him during the summer, he didn't eat for about I think like 6 weeks when I had him, and it was really making me worried. So anyway, but this time I looked it up and I found out that they don't eat during breeding season, or they tend not to eat. Like some of them can be really picky and just decide not to eat during breeding season. So I don't expect him to eat anytime soon, but I still put a mouse in there just in case he's hungry. Um, yeah, he doesn't look awful, but refrain from feeding him 2 mice in a row. He looks like a spider morph. Oh, I think that was summoning the feeding bot. He looks like a spider morph, so a little wobble is possible, but nothing horrendous. If he went without water, it's possible he might be dehydrated. There's a care guide on the welcoming post which could help you a lot. Yeah, I have a water dish in my snake's tank, and I pretty much fill it whenever I see that it's getting low, and he just like chills in there. I've actually seen him take a drink a few times, and it's always really cute. I've never actually gotten pictures of him taking a drink, but I got a couple pictures of his head in the water dish, and it's so cute. He's adorable. Okay, there's a feeding bot here who said, we recommend the following feeding schedule: 0 to 12 months old, or until the snake reaches approximately 500 grams, whichever happens first. Feed 10 to 15% of the snake's weight every 7 days. 12 to 24 months old, feed up to 7% of the snake's weight every 14 to 20 days. Adults, feed up to 5% of the snake's weight every 20 to 30 days, or feed slightly larger meals, up to 6% every 30 to 40 days. Okay, this is interesting. I wonder if that same feeding schedule works for Kenyan sand boas, or if it's just for ball pythons. Mine's about 2 years old right now, so should I be doing the adult feeding schedule? I don't know. He looks in decent health, maybe slightly on the skinnier side. This heavy bodied species does much better nutrition wise on rats instead of mice. However, his enclosure needs a lot of work. Even if this is a quarantine setup, there is little foliage or coverage. Aim to have at least 2 to 3 secure hides. He is also spider-morph, so keep an eye out for any wobbling, corkscrewing, or stargazing. This can worsen with age and lack of muscle mass. Yeah, spider-morphs are one of those breeds or morphs of snake that are like, certain dog breeds where they're bred a certain way because they look cute, they look desirable, but then they end up having a lot of health problems that are also bred into them. So yeah, spider-morphs are basically the dog equivalent of that. Like they're the snake equivalent of like a pug or something. So yeah, and it's really messed up, and they're actually on my blacklist of snakes that I'm never going to get. And I also have a couple of cat breeds on my blacklist for that too. Like certain breeds and snake morphs that I would never buy because of the way they're bred, because they're bred because they're desirable, but then they also end up with all these health problems because of it. And like any snake could get sick. It's obvious any snake could get sick, but some of them are specifically bred in such a way where they develop these health problems, and people just don't seem to care because they look desirable, like, pugs or whatever. So basically, yeah. And also, Persian cats tend to have a lot of issues with their breathing too, so they went on my blacklist of cat breeds. Like, I did want a Persian cat at one point, but then I found out about all the health issues they have and all the health issues that come with their flat faces, like, which is all kinds of breathing problems and stuff. Okay. Hmm. Okay, let's see. Uh, okay, r slash cat advice. And this one is marked as new to cat slash just adopted. I want to get a cat very bad. Does an indoor cat really exist? I want to get a cat very badly, but unfortunately she can't go outside much. Maybe in our yard, but the gate is open a lot, and maybe she can also climb up the plants or grates. Oh, so is it ethically okay if I can only let her roam around our house? And my parents say even that sometimes she can only walk around the corridors. I'm not English. I forgot the word like right after you walk into a house and then you are in a long room. So 3 floors of corridor. Okay. All four of my cats never leave, and they show no interest in running out, and two of them were strays. I will not risk disease death or them to be picked up by someone else. Cats are considered the uninvasive species if they are outside, as they eat the birds and such. It's not worth it. Damn. Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of like dangerous stuff out. There's a lot of dangerous stuff out there. Like for cats particularly. Uh yeah, for cats particularly, there's a lot of dangerous stuff out there. Um and there's a lot of dangerous stuff out there. But if you're like in a house and you have a yard or something, you can definitely build the cat like a catio, which is just an outdoor enclosed area for them. So that way they can be outside without having to worry about the dangers of outside, like getting grabbed up and taken, or like getting ran over by cars and stuff. Like, if you want to do that, that's a safe way to do that. If you're in a place where you can do that, where you can build that sort of thing. And generally, that means you have to be in a house. So, okay, let's read a best of Redditor update story. My girlfriend's girl nights out included her friends' significant others. I feel left out. Okay, trigger warning, gaslighting and betrayal. It was originally posted to Bleh. Excuse me. It was originally posted to r slash relationship advice on December 2nd, 2021. So, to make a long story short, my girlfriend of nearly 3 years has always had her girl nights out every 2 to 3 weeks or so, which is perfectly fine because I also had nights where I did stuff with my friends as well. We're all in our mid to late 20s, by the way. But yesterday, when my girlfriend's friend and her boyfriend hung out at our place, the boyfriend referenced something that happened on Saturday, which was her last night out. I was confused, and after a bit of probing, I found out that not only is he a regular on these nights out, but her other two friends bring their own boyfriends along as well. It's just me who has never been asked nor even informed that these girls' nights out weren't just I need to be with my girls for a bit, relaxing nights as she used to claim. Literally a few weeks ago we talked about our upcoming night out with them, and she told me something like, sometimes I just really need to be just with the girls. Of course I asked her once we were alone why she's never brought it up, or why I have never been invited, but she just kept claiming that the guys weren't always invited, and most of the time they just tagged along. Honestly, I feel pretty alone and disrespected right now. Uh, Plus, even now, almost 3 years later, I feel like I am barely in her friend group. I feel like if they were all meeting up anyway, I could have been there and maybe have become friends with them as well. Unlike her, I do invite my girlfriend around to do stuff with my own set of friends a lot. Now it feels like it wasn't just the girls she wanted to see, but rather that she just really didn't want to spend that time with me, while her friends had no problem spending their time together with their boyfriends. I don't really know what to think or what to do. Relevant comments. I think you are entitled to feel bad. She has been masking going out with her friends under girls' nights. There is nothing wrong with her wanting to go out without you, but the lying part makes it weird and borderline disrespectful. I don't think this is an isolated incident, and you feel hurt because there have been other issues, right? And then OOP says, I don't really know. I mean, everyone has their own preferences and their own character. She's always been a bit more cold in the way she acts than my previous partners, but I never thought that she'd feel like she needed this much of a break from me and the relationship as a whole. As I said in my post, I wouldn't have had an issue at all if this was just a girls' night out and if she did really need to have a bit of a break, but she was literally meeting up with her group of friends and their boyfriends. I genuinely can't imagine going out with my extended friend group twice in a row without even asking my girlfriend to be there with me. More often than not, she comes with me, so I just don't really understand why she'd want to separate me from her side of friends like that. I just don't know how to feel right now. You feel hurt, and that's natural. There is nothing wrong with that. When you talk to her, I'd suggest to focus on the why. Why lie? Why keep you apart from the group? Why the need for a break? This issue overall can be the tip of an iceberg of something much bigger hurting your relationship. Sure, it could be she is just an ass, but in that case, there is not much you can do. And then someone else says, straight up just confront her with the why did I have to find this out? Why wasn't I informed? Why did I have to probe about the girls' night out? It could be nothing. Probably is, but she needs to understand that's not fair to you. Make it clear that it's not a fight and you just want to clear the air. She's gonna get offended though. People are so used to people being fake that speaking directly is seen as aggressive. I wish you luck, fam, and stay strong, my brother, and remember that you're the victim. Don't play the victim card, but keep in mind that you did nothing wrong and you're just wanting to know what you don't know. And this is where it could get hairy, but what's most important is why it took so long for you to know these things. Oh, hell nah, dude, I'm the jealous type and I would have made a scene. That's probably why I'm single, so take it with a grain of salt. And OOP says, maybe I should have properly confronted her. It was already late, so all we did was me asking it and her hand waving me away, more or less. I will talk to her again. This is really bothering me, if I'm being honest. I love her so much, and I always try to include her, and basically just spent more time without her. Finding out that she's been keeping me away from these nights out for whatever reason has really hurt me. All I can think of is this: if she really needs such a break from me in the relationship, well, her friends clearly don't, then is it even a relationship she's happy in? And then December 4th, 2021, 2 days later, there was an update. Hey, so first of all, thank you all for your comments. I couldn't reply to them all due to the thread being locked. I read through them all and I did what I probably should have done directly when it first happened. I went and talked to her. To make a long story short, there were never any girls' nights out. These were always simple nights out with a friend group. So why wasn't I invited? Because they all hate my guts due to her own fault, according to her. My girlfriend said back when we started dating, she'd always vent to them about me, all these small issues we fixed. Between her nights out and literally never talked about again was all her friend group knew about me. Issue after issue, but never how we fixed it together as well. She realized that as well and stopped venting about me, but at that point it was, according to her, too late. They'd always joke about me behind their backs. The feeling I had of being ostracized on the rare occasions where one of our friends would hang out at our place wasn't just a feeling after all. They really do hate me. I simply wanted to know why she was okay with that and why she wouldn't stand up for our relationship. She said she wasn't okay with that, but what could she do? Her friends would have shit talked her if she said anything. Not only that, but her friends had me as the butt of all their jokes. In their minds, I'm an incompetent, impotent buffoon. All these fucking side eyes I got when I would talk to any of them wasn't just in my imagination. I'd talk to my girlfriend back then, and she'd always say, "It's just in your head." To be honest, it made me mad that she was trying to be the victim in this situation, and I don't know why, but finding out that they despise me and my supposed to be girlfriend is tolerating it and wouldn't defend me made me really, really upset. If I'm being honest at this point, I kind of mentally checked out, and I already knew that I won't allow this disrespect and that this relationship is already through. Yet there was so much I just don't understand. So I asked her simply, why? Why would you be okay with any of that? And why wouldn't you either stop being friends or literally demanding them to stop talking like that about us and about me? All she said was something like, you know how I am. I don't really like being the center of attention. I just kept quiet. Finally, I just asked her if anything would change going forward, and she said she would try talking to them individually, but she said it in such a timid way that I don't think for a second she actually meant it. Anyway, long story short, I broke up with her. It sucks, and I feel really badly about myself right now. I've always tried to be the best version of myself in this relationship, but knowing that there was a whole group of people out there who were supposed to love and defend me, who literally hate me, and the one person who was supposed to love me and defend me no matter what, yet didn't, kind of sucks. Final comments. So I gotta ask, what was her reaction to being broken up with? OOP says, she cried and begged me not to, but as I said above, I asked her if anything at all would change, but even then she wouldn't budge. I was 99% sure I was going to end that talk broken up with her, but after seeing her in action in the actual talk, just solidified it so much more. She left for her best friend Forever's apartment and hasn't really messaged me yet, but to be honest, there isn't really anything she could say to change my mind by now. I loved and still do love her a lot, but I'm still trying to process her friends more or less bullying me indirectly and her literally just being okay with it. This isn't the kind of person I thought she'd be, nor the kind of person I want in my life. And then someone else replies to that. It isn't just her friends, though. She wasn't just okay with it as an observer. She said all those terrible things about you to them. She made them think all this garbage. She was the one bad mouthing you and making you the butt of the joke. Only after she had laid down all that groundwork did she stop to think how things had become. And she lied to you many times and knowingly gaslit you. You deserve so much better. I hope you are able to find someone who is more respectful of you in the future. Her character flaws finally revealed themselves, and she was not a great partner to you. I am sorry. The comments says so. Okay, now we're in the comments. I bet that ex is never going to admit what she did and never going to correct her friends once they start calling OOP a monster and that she deserved better, and it's hard to blame the friend group for that. She poisoned the well just fine on her own. Even as a shoulder to cry on, it's hard to judge when to be sympathetic and let your friend run the frustrations out or when to tell them to look at a mirror. She's for sure going to say she broke up with him. All the friends will congratulate her for finally coming to her senses and getting away from him, and none of them will ever know the reality. The ex will never clear it up with her friends. It sounds like she enjoys hearing them bash OOP as an ego boost. Yes, they will, eventually. She wants to be the poor damsel in distress in her relationships. Sooner or later they'll figure it out. No, they won't. They'll likely stay entitled and judgmental their entire lives. To be fair, is this entitlement and judgment? If your friend is continuously telling you negative stories about their partner, you will eventually grow to have a negative opinion of them. Then, when they basically viewed him negatively, she only reinforced this view by never speaking up for him, defending him, or correcting them. Of course, they would think he's a horrible shit when his own girlfriend won't even speak in his defense and seemingly seems to think they are right, especially when they have the added assurance that the whole friend group came to the same conclusion from hearing all these same stories. This is 100% on her for speaking about him like this to her friends and never correcting them. When they started to view him negatively, she could have so easily gone, "Hey, I know I've been coming to you guys with a lot of minor issues in our relationship, and that may paint a very negative picture of him. But I think I've just been unloading too many minor annoyances and issues on you. He's actually been really great, and we've been working through all this stupid stuff really well. So it's my fault for painting an entirely wrong picture of how things have been going and what he's really like. So you should give him a chance because he's actually really great, and I fucked up by making him seem like he wasn't." Then she could have tried to actually bring him into the group or speaking positively about him moving forward to repair what she did, but instead she threw a partner She threw her partner under the bus to avoid admitting that she's the one who fucked up. Of course, her friends could have refused to actually give him a chance after that or keep an open mind, in which case they would have been in the wrong. But hearing a bunch of bad stuff about someone whose own partner doesn't even seem to like them is a little different than being a judgmental person your whole life. Of course, you are going to base an opinion of a person you don't know based on what you hear about them, and if that's all negative, of course you won't think of them too positively. Yeah, especially when you've been friends with this girl for a while and they've only been dating for, I don't know, a few months or something. That's how they made it seem anyway. Uh, and so yeah, basically, it's just like so basically, just they've known this girl forever, and of course, you're going to take the opinion of someone you've known forever over, the guy that is just in the friend group and, hearing all that stuff about him and not actually seeing what kind of guy he is. The feeling I had of being ostracized on the rare occasions where one of her friends would hang out at our place wasn't really a feeling after all. They do really hate me. All these fucking side eyes I got when I would talk to any of them wasn't just in my imagination. I talked to my girlfriend back then, and she'd always say, "It's just in your head." For me, this is a true example of someone being gaslit by their partner, not as other situations where the word is misused. It was not OOP's imagination. Hate that the breakup will somehow confirm to her friends that he is some kind of monster. She won't, but at this time it's no longer OOP's problem, so it doesn't really matter anymore. Exactly. I'm getting such PTSD from this post because my last ex was the same. The issue is we work in a sector where you kind of end up forced dating coworkers or people in the same space, and I specifically asked her to keep our issues private from her friends because they aren't just her friends, they're also my colleagues. Of course, she didn't listen, and of course, she vented about me to them, and of course, the stuff ended up getting out in the wider work/social circle. And since I didn't speak ill about her ever to anyone, I came off as the asshole in the relationship and the breakup after. Ended up dating her far longer than I should have for a ton of other reasons. Okay. That's ridiculous. Oh, ouch. Aside from the emotional damage, the potential to cause career damage makes this so egregious to me. Sorry. Damn. Reminds me of that Best of Reddit updates where the woman let her friends think her husband was physically abusive and walked out with them when they confronted her husband. Breaking up with her was definitely the right thing to do, but I gotta wonder what story she spun for her friends. I don't remember that one. You got a link? Okay. It was deleted, but here's r/am I the devil automod copy. It made it to best of no updates too. Best of no updates. What are best of no updates? What is this? Hang on. I want to see this. Oh my gosh. Okay, it's a completely different subreddit. I mean, it's similar to best of Reddit updates. Best of no updates. I guess it's the opposite of best of Redditor updates. It's just one story with no updates. Okay, yeah. Let's read it. I, a 35 female, didn't defend my husband, 36 male, of false domestic violence allegations made by my friends. I think my marriage is over. How do I fix this? Uh, I'm not the OOP. The OOP is this person. Okay. I originally posted r/relationship advice, and this was originally posted in March 2nd, 2024. This might be a long post. I am at a loss on what I should do. I met my husband when I was 20 at a gym. I was trying to lose some weight. He eventually noticed that I was sticking to my New Year's resolution. 2 months later, we were dating. I learned that he was from Indiana and he had been stationed in Texas for just over 2 years at that point. Eventually, he met my family, and my parents instantly liked him. My two younger sisters took a bit longer to woo over, but my older brother and him clashed over sports and loved to trash talk each other, so all in all, my family loved him. He was incredibly patient and kept me motivated, not only at the gym, but in school as well. He had to work late on his birthday, at 9 p.m., so I took him out to Buffalo Wild Wings for his birthday, and we had a great time. I had also set up a surprise birthday party for him the next day, his actual birthday. Nothing extravagant, but his two roommates the lady I thought was dating and another coworker's the lady I thought he was dating and another coworker of theirs. They were immediately on board and I told him they were going on a couple's trip for the weekend. My family wanted to come to be there for the surprise and cake before heading home with a handful of other friends. Everything was in place, and the plan was that I would hide behind the door and jump on his back and cover his eyes, then the lights would come on and everyone would yell. Looking back, that was such a dumb idea, but it sounded funny at the time. I pulled his truck. I heard his truck pull into the drive, and everyone hid. It was almost pitch black in the house. He opens the door and shuts it and takes a few steps, and I jump on his back. Everything happened so fast. I was immediately flipped over and slammed into the ground as the lights came on. I felt a sharp, intense pain in my shoulder, and my ears were ringing. He was horrified at what happened, and my brother and dad started yelling at him. He was trying to help, and my mother and his roommates had to get between him and my father and brother. He just kept apologizing to me. Yikes. So we spent his birthday in the ER. Oh, dude, that sucks. Oh, I remember when I broke my arm, I had to spend my Saturday in the emergency room rather than hanging out at home with my mom and doing all the TV and games and stuff that I usually do. Remember that? It was like a couple years back in 2021, I think. And yeah. Um, I had a separated shoulder and broken collarbone. Ouch, man. I was initially furious at him for doing that and didn't want him around me. I mean, I understand. I get why he did it. I mean, yeah, he would freak out at that. So he sat in the waiting room. By then my brother and father had calmed down and realized it for what it was. What was he supposed to think walking into his house, believing it to be empty and get jumped on from behind? Eventually I agreed to let him come back and he immediately started to cry and telling me how sorry he was and that he would never ever do that to me again. I want to make this clear to everyone reading this. This was in no way his fault. It was a natural reaction and I wish I had never jumped on his back. He struggled more than I did to put this behind us, but I kept up with my schoolwork and we continued to grow close over the next year. I would listen to him vent about work and we would do the same and he would do the same for me in my schoolwork. We went on weekend trips sometimes, just us and sometimes with friends. Sorry, I'm trying to keep this short, but I have so many happy memories I want to share. But I'll get to the reason why I'm posting this. Eventually, he asked me to marry him, and it was a no brainer. He was and still is the love of my life and the only man for me. We got married in a small ceremony with family and a few friends. When his second enlistment ended, we decided that the opportunity for him as a civilian air traffic controller was too good to pass up. It was hard for him to say goodbye to the Air Force, but he wanted us to finally settle down. Yeah, makes sense, especially if you're planning on having kids at some point. We had to move between our wedding and when he finally left the service. By then I was working and we had a very large amount saved up. As he waited to find out where the FAA wanted him to go, we stayed with my brother and his wife back in my hometown. Eventually he got the email and to our surprise he would be working fairly close to where we already were. He knew how much I had missed my hometown, so we decided to buy a house and he would commute almost an hour and a half each way. It is a huge sacrifice on his part. 2020 happened and I lost my job, but my husband made more than enough to cover my lost wages. We weren't getting any younger and decided to start a family. Aw, of course. That's so good. It took a bit, but eventually I got pregnant, and now we have a wonderful 2-year-old son. First year was a struggle for us both as we tried to adapt to parenthood. My husband struggled more than I did, but I helped him. If you have kept up with the news, the FAA is short staffed with not enough controllers, so my husband works mandatory overtime, and usually most shifts are 10 hours, legally the max, and each Wednesday he gets off work by 11 p.m. and has to be back at work by 8 a.m. Jeez. That's a very short turnaround that will leave him with at the most 5 hours of sleep if he drove home. So on those nights, he sleeps at a coworker's house. He has offered to make the drive, but I don't want him driving tired or working tired either. Yeah, driving tired is like really dangerous. Honestly, it did suck on those nights when he wasn't home and our son wouldn't sleep. He encouraged me to reconnect with old friends, and I have, which leaves us with the reason for this post. 2 weeks ago, I met up with some old girlfriends for a play date, i.e., watch our kids just crawl around. Most of them were complaining about their husbands, fiancés, or boyfriends not helping around the house. I do most of the housework, but my husband has always helped me when he is home. I changed the subject and asked one of my friends I'll call Lana, how often does her daughter wake up in the middle of the night? This eventually led to me telling them that my husband stays near his work on Wednesdays, and some of those nights were rough on me, especially early on. That got me a lot of sympathy, and I don't know why it felt good to hear someone that wasn't family say those things. I kept my mouth shut when they said my husband should just suck it up and take care of his kid, and that their husbands commute 2 hours to work each day. I wanted to say, well, your husbands have the same hours every day and aren't responsible for others' lives. Instead, I just nodded in agreement. It makes me sick that I did that. Our husband woke up just as much as I did and still does when our son needs him. Last week, my husband had a very rare Saturday and Sunday off. My parents offered us a child free weekend to include Thursday and Friday, and we took it. My husband was working, and I met my sister in law that Thursday for lunch to invite them over for dinner on Friday. I tripped on the curb and had to twist to make sure my son didn't hit the cement. I banged my right knee pretty good. It's still purple, but not hurting as much. Damn. We wanted to have some people over for dinner and invited my older brother and sister in law, as well as two of my friends from the previous week and their husbands. Going back to getting slammed by my husband, he mentions that he hates that story, that even if it wasn't intentional, he seriously injured me, so I stopped telling that story out of respect for him. Friday rolls around and my husband picks up everything we need to make a large pot of spaghetti and a few bottles of wine. We'd been discussing trying to have another child, so I was planning on getting a bit tipsy and jumping my husband's bones after our guest left. The perfect time to make a baby. Mm. And there wasn't much of a gap either. By the time he's born, it'll be 3 years apart, probably? About 3 years apart, yeah. Anyway, I wore a white halter top dress that he loves, risky to wear when eating pasta and drinking red wine, but I felt good. Our guests arrive, and we all give ourselves a glass of wine and make small talk. I noticed Lana whispering something to her husband, but ignore it, figuring maybe she liked something and was asking her husband if they could get something similar. The dinner starts and everything is going well. My husband isn't a big drinker, but he had went to get himself a second glass and tongs to make getting seconds easier. I was almost done with my fourth, as was my sister-in-law and Lana. My other friend, Sarah, fake name, was sipping her first, and their husbands were taking it slow. My brother got a call from work and stepped into a guest room to take the call. That's when my sister in law asked me to tell the story of how I broke my collarbone and separated my shoulder. I figured that since my husband was out of the room, that no harm, no foul. I tell the story and I'm laughing. My sister in law is laughing, and Sarah and her husband seem amused. Lana and her husband aren't laughing. Lana reaches across the table and grabs my hand and says, I saw your knee and how bruised it is. My sister in law snorts as Lana continued. You said he doesn't help with your son, and now he has you believing that what he did to your shoulder was some kind of accident. The husband walks in and asks what we are talking about, and Lana tells him that she knows that he is abusing me, that he doesn't help with our son, that he obviously shoved me down and bruised my knee, that I should have left him when he broke my shoulder. My husband immediately looks at me and asks, What the hell did I tell her? That's when Lana's husband speaks up and tells my husband to lower his voice because he won't tolerate verbal abuse, and that if you lay a finger on her, I will beat your ass. I'm too shocked to speak and stick up for my husband. My husband didn't take kindly to that and told them to get the fuck out of our house. My brother hears the confrontation as Lana and Sarah's husband stand between my husband and I. My husband tells them again, Don't make me repeat myself. I'm not going to tolerate being called a wife beater. Get the hell out. My brother tries my brother tries explaining that my husband doesn't hit me and I just turtle like a coward. My husband is trying to calm down and eventually my sister-in-law gets Sarah to drag her husband out of the house. Lana is still trying to keep her husband riled up. I remember my husband looking at me as if he was pleading with me to speak up for him, but I just sat there unable to do anything. I don't know why. I've never been in a situation like this before. Lana and her husband start telling me I need to leave with them so my husband doesn't hurt me. My husband flips my shit at that, and my brother in law had to almost tackle him. Tell them the truth! B, don't walk out that door! My husband's voice was surprisingly calm. I followed them out of the door. I was almost in the car with them when my sister in law, who seemed to sober up by then, pulled me back, and my brother forced Lana and her husband to finally leave. I get back inside and just started crying. I look at my husband, and the love in his eyes was gone. He looked like a stranger to me. I tried to hug him, and he pulled away and said he needed some space. I remember telling him that perhaps he could stay with my brother. I was insulted in our home. You stood by and let your friends lie, and you didn't say a word. You walked out the door to follow them. You chose them over me. If anyone needs to leave, it's you. I'm not saying you have to leave, but I'm not leaving our house tonight. I need some time and space to think about how to move forward. My brother agreed with my husband, and I left with them. My brother didn't say a word as we rode to his house. I couldn't stop crying and wondering why I let them insult my husband and our marriage like that. When we got home, my brother went off on me, asking me the same questions I had asked myself, that my husband never did the things my friends accused him how. I didn't sleep that night. Every call and text went unanswered. I told my parents what happened. They reacted in a calmer manner, but aren't happy with me right now. My family is supportive, but firmly on my husband's side, and honestly, I don't blame him. I have no excuse for not defending him and trying to de-escalate the situation. My husband wants space, and trying to give him that, but miss being near him. He has stopped by every day to see our son, but he has been avoiding talking to me. I got a call from him today, saying that he is deeply hurt and feels betrayed, that he isn't sure if he can trust me again. He still loves me, but he needs to sort out things on his end, but he was considering separation. I told Lana and Sarah to fuck off and never contact me again. I'm so hurt and I'm so hurt and angry, very angry at myself. I want my husband back, but I'm not sure if that's possible. I need some advice. Please, I want things to be back to normal. I want to be picked up and slung over his shoulder as he grabs my butt. I want him to kiss my stretch marks and tell me that he loves me even more for them. What do I do? How can I save my marriage? Uh, I swear, if this shit escalated for I swear, if this shit escalated further and went to court, I can definitely see this waste of space OOP sitting there turtling rather than answering questions. I fucking hope he flies. In an ideal world, he'd get full custody too, because how the fuck would she protect a child if she can't even open her fucking mouth? Sadly, it won't be full custody, but he deserves a far better spouse. Everyone deserves better than OP. Okay. Damn, I wanted to read those comments. I commented on that thread and people were not kind to OOP. Honestly, good. But that's probably why we have no update. If you click original post linked at the top, you can see the comments. Also, if you click the mod message up top in that post, it shows her username that you can click to go to the profile and see the replies directly. Not kind? They destroyed her, and for a good reason. Damn. Okay. Uh, I imagine Lana and Sarah were reading that, really worrying about their friend, defending her when they thought that the husband was about to hit her, and then a day later they get a call from OP who tells them to fuck off. Confusion doesn't even come close that what they must have felt. Also, OP does nothing else in this post but throw a pity party. She says she wants to respect his request for space after she wrote two sentences earlier that every text and call from her went unanswered. That is the exact opposite of respecting his request. All it would do is solidify their thoughts about the abuse. They would assume that he forced her to cut them off because that's what abusers do. All she needed to do was call and explain the misunderstanding like an adult. And either OP isn't telling the full truth, or she told her friends a lot more stories. What friends jump to domestic violence hearing a story that happened years ago, that OP is comfortable to talk and joke about with her brother and sister in law, and then a recent accident that was easily explained. She did say she loved the attention. Yeah, she literally could have just said, I hit my knee on the curb because I tripped. Anyway. Okay. Alright. I think I'm gonna stop for now because if I don't stop, I might, mom's gonna be home soon. And I haven't got a text from her, but she's probably on her way home soon, so I'm gonna go. Hey guys, I'm back for another, part of I always end up yelling when the camera comes on. I hate that. Anyway, doesn't matter. Um, I'm gonna do some Reddit stuff, but if I get a call from my mom, I'm probably gonna have to take it. Anyway, the uh, the next story, the next story is from Best of Reddit updates, and it's "Am I the asshole for calling the ambulance for my coworker, even though I knew she was kind of faking it?" I'm not the original poster. The original poster is someone else. Trigger warning. Trigger warning. Some trigger warning. Unspecified eating disorder. Original post May 14th, 2025. I, 28 male, am working in an English language center in a Southeast Asian country. There's a female coworker in her 20s here who often touches her head and wobbles like she was about to faint, and she would lie down on the couch, letting people fan her, bring water and food to her. We take midday naps here, so whenever she does this, everyone's lunch and nap time is ruined, especially the ones who keep caring for her. This would happen at least twice a month, so over the last 5 or 6 months, I've seen a few incidents when we work the same shift. One time she even asked me to order ice cream for her. Info, it's a big crowded city, so you can just walk to the ice cream shop nearby to grab one for $1. Didn't pay me back, but that's besides the point. This Monday she did it again, and this time she asked a girl to order her an iced drink and a sandwich. A group of coworkers fanned her, did the whole caring thing like she's a sick child. I stood up from my chair, walked towards her, asked if she was okay. Then I went to the men's washroom, dialed for an ambulance, and went back to my seat. After 20 minutes, we heard the siren, my phone rang again, and I stood up and told her servants to help her to the ambulance. Her face changed. You know, that face when someone knows they fucked up. Other girls asked if I called. I said, yeah, it seems more severe this time. It's best for her to go. The ambulance is here already. You'll have to pay for it regardless. The ambulance fee is about 1 to 2 days worth of her salary, $50. Other coworkers actually agreed and helped her get on the ambulance. Now that I think of it, no one called an ambulance for her once. Ever since that incident, she stopped interacting with me beyond highs and hellos. Thursdays now, and not a word to me. Am I the asshole for this? Some of OOP's comments. Commenter, not the asshole, thanks for a funny story. OOP, half of me thinks it's funny, but half of me feels guilty because she probably paid 2 days worth of her salary on the ambulance. Commenter, she probably hadn't been paying anyone else back for things like drinks and food, so I figured the fee for the ambulance was her asshole tax. OOP, ooh, I should DM other coworkers to see if she's paid them back. It's just $1 or $2 though. Commenter, I'm gonna disagree with everyone here. You're the asshole. Ambulances are meant to save lives and not deal with petty squabbles. That said, from the title alone, I would have agreed with you, as you don't know if someone is faking it or not. But you have deliberately hid the fact that you're calling for it, didn't ask her if it's needed, etc. Also, I would like to point out that while she does seem to be faking it and in general acts like an asshole, her reaction to the ambulance could be due to the cost, so it is no proof of faking it. OOP, which is why I posted. I secretly called so she couldn't disagree to it. Maybe she's actually not faking it and it is of a sensitive topic. Severe menstruation, as some people suggested. But you can't deny that she's been abusing it a little bit. Turned out some coworkers haven't got their money back yet from buying her stuff as she demanded to. Editor's note: these comments are chronological, so OOP DM the coworkers between answering the last comment and this one. Commenter: damn, this is something I actually want an update on. After that incident, did you stop her faking for a bit? Did you continue? I feel like if she stopped for a bit, you should tell your coworkers the ambulance trick worked and they need to do it. Every time you see her, you should be annoying and just ask if she is feeling okay. LOL. OOP, it's only been 4 days. Usually she acts up every 2 weeks, sometimes once a week, but in a milder way. Tired, headaches, etc., not fully laying on the couch. It's a small update, but I texted two girls and it turns out she hasn't paid them back for food money, but they're teachers, so they said it didn't bother them. My workplace is very nice and peaceful otherwise. Commenter: curious, how do you know she is faking it? Curious, how do you know she's faking it? Ugh, that's annoying. Okay, OOP, just a hunch really. People in pain and people faking pain can look different. And people faking pain look different. It's the subtle details that I cannot really explain. It looks forced or exaggerated. I might be talking out of my ass here, but I imagine if someone is in pain and groaning, they would sweat, heat up, or go pale again. Ugh. I don't know, but it feels weird when you see it. Commenter, sorry, but that's just not evidence. Everyone reacts to things and shows things differently. Just because you wouldn't react like that doesn't mean she wouldn't. An example is seizures. They often look very different to how people would expect. On TV, they're always exaggerated, jerking, and shaking. Sometimes they can look like that, but sometimes people go stiff and completely still. Sometimes it's tiny like a small muscle contraction. Sometimes it looks like zoning out. So if you saw someone zoning out instead of jerking around, would you say they were faking it? Or people react differently to stress. Some people cry, but other people laugh. Would you not believe them because they're not reacting how you would? You have no idea of this woman's history. Maybe she is faking it. Why do you need to be the one to stop it? The people looking after her have minds of their own, and you just don't have enough evidence if it's based on a hunch. The ambulance you called was malicious and just to prove a point and teach her a lesson. But you don't know for 100% if she has a medical condition or not. Maybe she does, and it is managed by the things you say people help her with. You cannot do that to someone on a hunch. OOP, I agree with your view. Maybe a few more days I'll try to ask about her hospital visit in a polite way. Commenter, edit to add, I say this as a person with chronic illness. Faking obviously sucks. However, I wouldn't want anyone to call an ambulance without my permission if I struggled with my chronic illnesses. Even though the ambulance is free here, would still annoy me. I am not dying. I faint quite often and have some other issues. I usually sit down, drink some water, and maybe get someone to watch if it gets bad. Emergency services are meant for emergencies, not for being petty. You just wasted their time. OP, I agree. It was petty of me to bother the hospital, but other than that, I don't know what else to do. Confronting her, texting her, talking to other coworkers behind her, staying silent all seem wrong. Commenter, I used to get fainting spells for that reason, and eating a bit and drinking some water would usually help me feel better, but not cured, obviously. So that's what I would go for when it happened. Took about 6 years to get diagnosed. Everyone making a big fuss probably isn't helping the coworker feel better, and OOP should probably have gone for it. You should go home before calling an ambulance. Honestly, I found it difficult to believe that an ambulance would come unless OP lied to them. They certainly wouldn't have in England. OOP. Here, caller require Here, caller provides name, phone number, ID, answer some questions, and ambulance will come. The phone number must match the one registered on your ID. The patient will be charged digitally through their ID scan or by cash, bank transfer, or a tag along person. I know this because I went with a relative by ambulance when he got stomach ache. Commenter, sorry, I'm just stuck on the fee. Is it $50? And is $50 1 to 2 days of repay? OP, yes, Southeast Asian country. Ambulance is cheap, but salary is also low compared to the US. Actually, most of my foreign relatives book flights to Vietnam for medical care, diabetes and such. Insulin is cheap here. To another commenter, Vietnam, far location is 50, near hospital is 25 actually. Many updated comments, May 15th, 2025, the next day. Ooh, I've been asking around. Apparently, Miss Faint hasn't paid some of the coworkers back their food money, borrowed money from a few people, and asked to have a bite of some people's food. I'm added to a private group chat with 5 other coworkers. I will give an update later. Today was a lot for me at work. Another comment. We made a group chat and provided a lot of proof last night. This is an HR problem now, and we will notify HR instead of talking directly to her. She has been texting other coworkers and borrowing money to go to the hospital. She exclusively targets female teachers and requires them to not share the matter with others. This is beyond me now. We'll update after HR solve it. Update post, May 19th, 2025. 4 days later, and 5 days from the original post. Here's the update on the female coworker who keeps fainting and asking people to order food for her. I'll call her Anne because there's a lot of women involved in this update. After the first post, I texted some female coworkers to see if they'd received food money back. 2 female teachers told me that they hadn't, but they didn't mind. The total amount was around $20 per person. Blech. Words got around fast, and I was added to a group of 5 other people, so in total, at least 7 female teachers were affected by Anne. Based on their word, Anne has low blood pressure and malnutrition. She indeed is very thin, K-pop idol type of body. She clearly has some unhealthy eh, she clearly has some unhealthy relationship with food. It's almost as if she doesn't want to pay for food. She borrowed money from multiple female teachers to pay hospital bills and begged them to not disclose this information to others. We're talking up to a loan that worths 4 months of salary. She basically borrowed half of that teacher's emergency funds. She also flirted with one female teacher. Said teacher often brings her on small dinner dates. I didn't ask on this matter. HR was notified, the girls who did the talking. I was called in as the one who called the ambulance. After the meeting, it's confirmed that Anne will be let go after 30 days. The reasoning was creating a hostile workplace environment. This morning was really awkward. Unfortunately, HR cannot help with the loans that people have given her as it's personal matter. However, HR is willing to provide personal information of Anne to the affected coworkers, and then a bunch of question marks. Oh well, it's their matter now. Now, answering some comments from the previous post. Some mentioned that I was wasting healthcare resources. Well, she was examined and came back with a diagnosis. Some asked me my problem relatives for medical care. Insulin here is like $3 to $7 per vial, and you can buy it at almost any public or private hospital. If you have national healthcare ID, it's basically free. Some was worried for me because I accidentally slipped my personal social media page on the previous post. I don't really care, honestly. I'm considered a valuable asset, and I'm easy to work with. If anything comes up, I think the company and I will be able to solve it peacefully. Editor's note. OOP has linked some TikToks to people asking about the nap situation. Yes, people take midday naps in Vietnam. You're the odd one if you don't. If I'm not standing a class, I'm not allowed to be online doing TikToks, etc. Having a TikTok account is not a legal reason to be let go. There's one Redditor here who was incredibly vindictive and was trying to antagonize me in the DMs. Go get a grip, you deliberately ignored all other comments. You're blocked. Bye. And finally, don't lend your coworkers half of your emergency funds. Like, why? And there's a bunch of question marks. Some of OOP's commenters, damn, commenter, damn, that's low. That's just low to prey on other women like that. Still not the asshole. You put an end to her abusing your coworker's kindness. OOP, teachers no less. I literally work with the kindest angels. Can confirm as having a mom who's a teacher, teachers are awesome. I mean, not all teachers, but a lot of teachers. But most teachers are great and they care and they help and stuff like that. Commenter, thanks for the update. Man, what a wild ride. I like that your feedback of a prank on a pattern of bad behavior turned into this huge unmasking of the extent of her harmful behavior. Not the asshole. What diagnosis did they give her? Oh, patient. Comment. Someone who's in need. Her position offers a good salary. I think she has a problematic relationship with food more than anything. Maybe a form of eating disorder. Commenter. Downvoted. Calling an ambulance for a made-up emergency is illegal for a reason. You wasted resources on an ambulance that could have been used for someone who actually needed it. Next time you want to make a point, do it in a way that doesn't potentially put someone's life in danger. OOP, I don't know your location to judge the scarcity of ambulances, but in Vietnam, hospitals are a dime a dozen. One dispatched ambulance won't be a problem here. Plus, she made up the emergency, not me. I responded to the scene. Additionally, she was in fact clinically diagnosed and provided papers to HR. If it were you, what would you do? Remember, this has been going for 6 months. And then someone says, I saw the original post, but I didn't know there was an update. Thanks for putting this together. You're welcome. I'm glad you got to see the conclusion. As an American born Viet who has visited the old country often, I hate that I clocked this as Vietnam so quickly. Y'all, the shit I've heard from my relatives over there about some people is insane. Also, Redditors on the original post really are too fixated on the ambulance thing. OOP isn't kidding about how common hospitals and ambulances are, especially in Saigon. Dude, same here. When I saw the fainting in C, I was like, she has to be Viet, right? She has to be Viet, lol. Um, take a shot every time an American comments in a rage about the ambulance. That's a quick way to need to call an ambulance. Whoa there, ambulances cost thousands of dollars. This is a true fact about the world at large, not just my bubble. Does she even have health insurance? What if that hospital doesn't take her health insurance? What if she can't afford the copay? An ambulance ride here is $90, and I had my babies in a hospital for like $5 each. Prescription fee. Crazy that Redditors complain so much about the US health system justly and then just forget about it in the next post. I live in the UK. Ambulances are free unless you've called it for an obviously bullshit reason, in which case you get fined. To be honest, the idea of paying anything for an ambulance completely baffles me, but I guess that might be because I'm not used to the idea. Yeah, I think it's absolutely ridiculous that we have to pay for healthcare at all, but especially for an ambulance when we could be potentially dying. Like, I feel like most people that call ambulances are actually dying, or they need like a major surgery or something. Like, they have appendicitis or something. Ugh, it's ridiculous. I don't know. Um, um, alright, I'm gonna try to find another story for us to read. I'm just gonna go to my saved posts. Mm, alright. This next one, also from Best of Radio Updates. Am I the asshole for wanting to cut off my close friend after she booked their wedding 6 days before mine? Note, OP posts to Wedding Philippines, so there is a slight language barrier when it comes to pronouns. Original post, December 9th, 2024. I, 29 female, have this friend, a 30 female, who booked their wedding date 6 days before ours. For background, his boyfriend, I and my fiance went to the same, university. We're not that close, but fast forward, the four of us are currently working abroad and became close over the span of 2 years. Close friends, as in we were together for almost every week for that period. My fiance and I got engaged last June and we booked the date, venue, and other major suppliers on the same month. We immediately told our friend group about the date so that they can plot in their calendar ahead of time. I've been sharing this detail to I have been sharing every detail to this close friend of mine since she already appointed herself as one of my bridesmaids, which I really intend to. Then 4 months after, this close friend of mine got engaged, which I'm obviously happy with, until she told me a month ago that she picked a date which is 6 days before ours. I was so shocked because it seems like she didn't consider the people around her. We have common friends who will both be attending on our wedding, and both of our wedding will be held at the same city, 4 hours away from the metro. Ugh. I immediately told her that I might not be busy, that I might not be on her wedding sets for sure. I'll be busy a week before my wedding, since I have no coordinator. I live abroad and will held our wedding in our home country, which I only took a work leave for 3 weeks max. There's a lot to do for last minute preparations. After telling her that, she replied to me, "It's okay, I understand," then goes out to my room as if the info she told me is only an FYI, which hurts me a little more because she doesn't care if I'll be at a wedding or not. She's in my bridesmaids list, but I'm planning to remove her due to this. I didn't talk to her about this, but I've been hurting since then. At the end of the day, it's not within my control. She can pick any date she wants, but I just hope she considered me in any way. So am I the asshole for having this feeling? What should I do? How can I tell her about removing her on my list without getting into these details? I played in my mind what if I open up my feelings to her, but I think she'll play the victim or as if I'm overreacting. Yeah, sounds like she's the kind of friend that would totally do that. Sorry if there's like a language barrier here. I'm just reading it as it's written because I'm just not sure what they're trying to say. So I'm like I can't change I'm just reading it as it's written. So if there's some language barrier, if you don't understand, then you know, update May 17th, 2025. Update. Hello, just wanted to give an update. Thank you for all the insights regarding my previous post. So, at first, I didn't cut off my quote unquote close friend because I'm trying my best to remind myself that this is their wedding, not mine, so I have no control over it. But something definitely changed between us. I know she knows it too. A few months later, her fiance messaged and asked my fiance to be his groomsman. He even requested for my fiance to allot at least 2 to 3 days of his time to prepare as a groomsman. My blood boiled. They set their wedding 6 days before ours, then he had the audacity to ask for the prep days. Take note, that's for the role of an entourage, so they knew that a groom needs maybe more than 6 days to prep for his own wedding. My fiance politely declined and explained that we have things to polish days before our wedding, since we have no coordinator and we have a lot of things to do, last minute prep. This girl also asked me about being a bridesmaid, but I politely declined as well. She low key asked me if they were still invited, but I indirectly told her that we will remove them on our list, and we're considering that they're on their honeymoon anyways. I was furious again on how inconsiderate they are, so I decided to talk to her to open up about how I felt. So we went for a coffee and talked about the issue. None of us said sorry. She told me that if she was in my shoes, she wouldn't feel mad about what they did. She feels like, based on my personality, I was just too emotional as a person. That's why I took it the way I did. She really wishes me to be part of her entourage and thought that 6 days is enough. I told her it's easier to think that when your wedding is on the first few days of the weekend, not on the latter. His fiance even asked 3 days for a prep as a groomsman, so they know that a groom needs to prep more than 6 days, especially if there's last minute things that we need to handle. After the talk, I realized that our EQ just weren't just the same because I would never be so inconsiderate uh to a close friend of mine. We're not going to each other's wedding, but we'll support each other as a bride. I recommend suppliers that she still needs, and she does the same. After that talk, took a step back to our friendship and went back to being an acquaintance. I never had a friend like that. I focused on my true friends, but somehow I still feel bad about it. EQ is like the emotional quotient, just like IQ is intelligence quotient. It's basically for emotions rather than intelligence. Anyway, that's your emotional intelligence basically or whatever. I hope I'm saying that right. Added comments. OOP added this in the comments. It's really an unfortunate event. What's most sad about it is it affected how I viewed the wedding planning phase. My enthusiasm to it really skyrocketed down, and I feel really bad to my fiance. I always see this couple since we're in a small group of friends working abroad, but we're slowly starting to set some boundaries, like not inviting them to my birthday, since I don't feel good whenever I see them. My fiance is very protective of me and very objective to this issue. He already told me before not to get too close with this girl because he feels like she's always prioritizing herself without consideration on the people around her. There are some instances before, but I even fought him about his view to her. Our other friends doesn't know about this issue and I felt like it will be awkward when we send the invites and they'll know that this couple isn't invited. I don't want to retell the story anymore. Did OOP's friend know her wedding date beforehand? They knew our date even before they got engaged. She told me she set that date so that our friends are in our home country on the same month. I told her why does it have to be on the same week? She told me she had no other choice. I couldn't argue much about it because I really don't know if it's true. Hmm. Asking OOP and a groom to take part in their wedding really does take it over the top for me. Like, sure, if you have no other choice, I guess getting married less than a week before your friend can't be helped. Sometimes shit happens. Asking the groom to devote several days to being a groomsman, and asking the bride who already said she wasn't sure she could attend it all to be a bridesmaid, following that with "you're too emotional" and "I really want you to be part of my entourage" is just, I don't know, honestly, it feels manipulative. There was a way to do this with less hurt feelings. Plus, looks like they're on their honeymoon for OP's wedding and won't be returning any of the support in the lead up. They still want to be invited to the OOP's wedding so they can turn down the invite themselves, because turning down an invite holds more power than not being invited at all. Yeah, that's ridiculous. Okay. I think I'm just gonna move on to the next thing. Alright. um, I'll be right back. Hey guys, I'm gonna try and do a couple hours of recording today. Don't be surprised if the 8-year anniversary special is like a day late though, or maybe even two. I don't know. Anyway, I'm gonna go to my Reddit page and starting with a post from r/newborns, and this is just in the order that I save them and in the order that I see them on my screen. So I love my baby, but I'm miserable. I have a 3 point month old I have a 3.5-month-old baby, and it has been the hardest time of my life. The part I'm struggling with is how life altering it is. I cannot seem to accept that I will never have the same freedom as before, that this never ends, that I can't relax ever. I see so many people post and talk about how much they love being a mom, but the truth is, I hate it. I feel guilty that I don't feel the way other moms do, that motherhood is magical and the best thing to ever happen to them. I don't feel that way at all. I miss my partner. I miss when we could watch a movie and just focus on each other. My fear is I will never have my marriage again. My fear is that I'll never be happy again. And then we're in the comments. The truth is, some days don't feel magical, especially in the first year, but eventually it'll become easier and your new normal. Once your baby starts to grow and form more of a personality, things will indeed start to feel more magical. All the things that once seemed mundane as an adult suddenly become beautiful. Watching your baby discover the world in amazement is a feeling that is better than anything else I've experienced before. Makes me not miss my old life and freedoms. But like I said, it certainly doesn't feel like that every day, and especially not in the first few months. It's very jarring and such a drastic change. It's no wonder you feel that way. All women do, even if they don't say it out loud or on social media. I too often miss the fun I used to have with my husband before having a baby, but as my daughter ages and we're able to actually do things together as a family, I've never had so much fun. It's also really special bonding with him and our baby, watching her play and looking at each other with such love and amazement. It wasn't like that at the beginning, though. Give yourself some grace. I promise soon you will be happy. I know I'm not OP, but I've struggled with really similar feelings and found your reply really helpful. Thank you for sharing this. And then OP says, "Thank you so much for this. It truly did help me feel better. Thank you for this. I am one of those moms who typically just lurk on Reddit. Reading these types of comments make me feel so much better. I thought I would just bond for once. I have such ups and downs. Motherhood is not what society had painted it to be. I've made it my personal responsibility in my circles to share and create a more realistic expectation of it. I find it weird how women seem to tend to hide the struggles and focus only on the good. At least that was my experience prior to becoming a mom. And then there's more people saying that it's true and blah blah blah. It comes back, I promise. They get easier. For example, at around 2, my daughter would play quietly for hours. My husband and I would binge watch shows, and she was happy as can be with her toys. Your life isn't over. Once they can play and entertain themselves and not rely on you for every little thing, it gets easier. I remember feeling this so vividly after my first child. I had meltdowns frequently because you're not. I had meltdowns frequently because your life is never the same after a baby. But wow, it gets so much better. The transition from 0 to 1 kids is truly life altering. I just had my second child, and I can wholeheartedly say 1 to 2 kids is easier on my mental health. All this to say, OP, these feelings are all valid. Your life will come back. It won't be the same, but it'll be good in a different way. I just had my second as well, and it's definitely an easier transition. Thank you for pointing this out. I've always wanted to have more than 1 kid. I'm a female to male to my 6 week old, and sometimes I think, oh, full time mother. Sorry, it just says FTM. I thought it was female to male. I was trying to figure that out. And sometimes I think that having more children will simply be unmanageable, because right now this feels very hard. How far apart are your children, if I may ask, and why is the transition easier? Thank you. 2.5 years apart. I felt the same way for the entire first year of my first child's life. I was questioning how on earth was I supposed to do it again, the sleepless nights, teething, crying, etc. But then he transitioned to a toddler and we found our groove. At around 15 to 18 months, I started picturing my life with the second child, so we went for it. The second is easier for us personally because we know what we're doing it now. I was constantly anxious about my first because I had no idea how to calm a baby, swallow, breastfeed, and all the other things that come with a newborn. We know how to handle a baby, and I'm not anxious about every little sound, burp, or cry. I also think my perspective is different. I know now that things change. All these hard stages truly don't last forever, and when you're dealing with them for the first time, it does feel like it never ends. But when my newborn cries, I look at my toddler and realize she's going to grow up and change so much. That cliche saying of they'll never be this little again is so true. Kids change fast, and I've learned to be more easygoing and forgiving to myself. Nothing will ever be perfect. I felt the same way. I felt completely disoriented in my own life. I missed my work, my freedom, spontaneity, relaxing, spending quality time with my husband. It was awful until about 4 months for me. I now have a 7 month old and can see the light at the end of the tunnel. I can wash my hair without having to schedule it with my husband. I can leave the baby with my husband and feel slightly less guilty. Engage more, sleep better. I'm going on a 2 night trip soon without them. I'm slowly starting to feel like myself again. Yesterday I went shopping and got my eyebrows done and the baby was content the whole time. The hormones have leveled out and I'm having moments of feeling happy. You'll get there too. It really does get easier. Find a few minutes outside and shower helps most of the time. Being a parent is so fucking hard. Yeah, why does I feel like every movie and every show shows parenting is just the greatest thing ever. Like it's so amazing and special and definitely that, but also like it's really fucking hard and nobody talks about how hard it is. And I realize that parenting humans is different than parenting stuffed animals, but still I just want to but still I know like it's so fucking hard. Hang on. Alright, I'm gonna try and, hmm. Okay. This just popped up on my homepage and it says, it says it's from r slash pet mice. And it says, well then who do I believe? And this person's a first time owner. That's the mark. That's their mark. Player, whatever you want to call it. Reddit is notoriously bad at mouse care, unfortunately. The studies they use to support their claims don't even support theirs, they support ours. They just don't know how to read them or never read the whole thing. You could put 3 mice in a 200-gallon tank and they'll thrive. There is no such thing as too big. Mice in the wild have territories that at minimum larger than a bedroom, usually far larger. Domestic mice may not be wild, but they do not want to live in a shoebox. They just need plenty of clutter. They can't live in an empty tank with a few hideouts and feel safe. Add deep bedding, tons of tunnels and hides, etc., and you have very enriched happy mice. Let's see what everyone else say. Who here was saying that tanks are too big for mice? If you put 3 mice in a 200-gallon tank, they might not use all of it, but as long as they have sufficient hideys and you don't put the food water at the far opposite end from their nest, I don't think they care. I don't think anyone here was suggesting to keep mice in small cages, and certainly not bare ones. You see people talking about adding more clutter all the time on this sub. OP says, I know this was a conversation that I observed in the pet mice group on Facebook. I will say that I was told to downsize my tank to a 40-gallon, but again, that was suggested, not required. Uh, this is going to be long but informational. Domestic mice are derived from the house mouse. Domestic are just house mice. House mice keep small home territories. say living in your kitchen wall, they'll own the kitchen. You won't see them venture to, let's say, a bedroom down the hall slash across the house unless they don't have resources in their kitchen territory. They'll expand for resources, so say the kitchen has no food or water, then you'll see them going farther out of their kitchen range and claim the bedroom as well. They live in social groups with one male to a few females, and the babies grow and leave to make their own territory. A few females may stay in the colony and mate with the dominant male, aka their dad. This is why people often see their domestic mother mice often pick slash fight with older offspring. Not all are accepted to stay, she is the matriarch. During breeding season, females are solitary from the group during this time, which is why we separate pregnant females in captivity as well. So, if the kitchen can feed 10 mouths, but the colony has 20, they will expand range. The smaller the group, with an abundance slash adequate resources, the smaller the range. Overall, the size they are kept at doesn't matter much. You can only make a suitable slash safe in-home habitat so big. Bigger space will not negatively impact a group slash colony. If you built a 4 foot by 4 foot enclosure and had 6 mice with food, water, dishes in two corners, they would be perfectly happy. And the OP says, "Thanks so much." And then someone else says, "Do they really think we suggest shoe boxes for cages? If that's Facebook, get out of there. Toxic as fuck." And then OP says, "There's so much conflicting info out there. How am I supposed to discern between who is right and who is not? That's my issue." And then someone else says, "Ooh," and then they respond, "What is it exactly that you're looking for?" And then OP says, "Just general care, honestly. Is my enclosure too big? Too small? How many mice can it comfortably house?" And then, and then the other person replies, "Like I said, I generally just follow what the majority is. You will get conflicting info from one extreme to the other on size. General rule I follow is 3 girls max in a 20 long tank, 6 in a 40-gallon breeder, so use those as your guide numbers. You can Google the dimensions and then compare your enclosure size. Figure it from there, but nobody is going to crucify you if you put 7 girls in a 40-gallon, you know?" And then OP says, "Somebody told me that my tank could technically house like 17 mice, and I only got 4 because no way. It's about 48 times 20 inches." And then the commenter replies, "17 is an insane number for a newbie, lol. I've read through this thread. You've gotten some very good advice here. I think the best you can do with an enclosure that size is clutter it up and see how they do. You can clutter with a lot of stuff that you'd normally toss or recycle. Also hit thrift shops and garage sales. I buy small kids' toys like little houses and stuff. They climb on them and through the windows and stuff. A little shape sorter thing is great too." Yes, some Facebook groups are crazy like that. I think a lot of them also don't account for the fact that colonies of mice over 6 notoriously declan, separate into different groups, and then fight with each other over territory. Uh, and then the pic in they added pic of the enclosure, and there's a pic of the mouse, which is mostly white with a little gray and black on it. Like there's a little black spot around the ear, and there's some gray by the butt, and they're really cute. He's really cute. Or she, I don't know. Anyway, everyone's like arguing about mice and stuff, and people are gonna argue about pets like a lot. I don't know. People always seem to have their own uh I don't know, people seem to have um their own uh opinions about like what's right for mice, and it's hard for people to find information when there's so many conflicting opinions out there um about um about pets and stuff. So okay, this next one comes from r/snakes, and the post is, "Sad that owning my snake isn't what I thought it would be." This is more venting than anything, just going through some blues that owning my snake isn't what I thought it would be, and wanted to know if other people have gone through the same and how they dealt with it. I have an African house snake. I did a ton of research before deciding on one, as I wanted a smaller snake that would still be handleable and interactive as far as snakes go. Yeah, that was kind of what I was thinking too. But the small thing was really important to me because I didn't have a lot of space in my old place. And you guys know I also don't have a lot of space here. I think I probably have less space than in my own place because even though the house is technically bigger, my mom has most of her stuff in here. Like it's mostly mom stuff and maybe like 15% my stuff. But the biggest thing that I have in here is definitely the tank for my snake. And that's kind of a big deal. Um, they came highly recommended by many people and care guides that stressed how friendly and chill this species is to handle and how great they are to care for. I picked a good breeder who took care to socialize their animals, and I'd like to think I did all the research I could have to make sure I was making the right choice for me. Unfortunately, I think this particular snake is just not what I was hoping. I want to make it clear I still love him and intend to care for him, but I'm a little sad about how it turned out. I've owned him for 5 months now, and during that time I've rarely seen or interacted with him. Despite most care guides saying this species is primarily terrestrial, and some saying they're semi-arboreal, he spends almost all of his time burrowing underground. He will occasionally come out to explore, but only late at night when the room is dark. As soon as the lights are on, he runs back underground. He's extremely skittish and runs as soon as he sees me. I've managed to pick him up on a few occasions, but he tries so hard to get away from me that it's rare, and I feel bad doing it. I tried tongue feeding him to get some interaction in that way, but since he runs as soon as he sees me, I rarely manage it. I mostly just leave the mice in there for him to find. The only regular times I see him are on the camera in his enclosure as he moves around. In general, I don't really interact with him at all and rarely see him. His care is great, he eats regularly and sheds well, and he seems in good health and happy if I leave him alone. So I'm glad at least he seems to be doing well. I'm working on accepting that I won't ever really get to hang out with him the way I've seen other people do with their house snakes, and I know as long as he's healthy that that's the best I can hope for. Still, well, I think I just got unlucky with this particular snake's temperament. I wish I would have known this before I bought him. How do you deal with this when owning an animal isn't what you thought it would be? If anyone has any tips, I'd appreciate it. Don't get me wrong, he's a cutie and I'm going to look after him no matter what. I'm just struggling a bit emotionally since interacting with him is so different than what I expected and what I've experienced owning snakes previously. And someone says, "Hi, I have 5 African house snakes, so maybe I can help." First, they are nocturnal. They will be hidden and burrowed most of the day, both to hide and sleep. That does not mean you cannot interact with them during the day, but it is better to do so in the evening. Second, all of my baby house snakes started off skittish and quick. You need to socialize them slowly but consistently, and this is how I do it. A. Put a different object in their tank every other night for a few weeks. This lets them come to the conclusion that new things do not equate with bad experiences. And B, hold your housey inside their enclosure for a few minutes each night for a week or so. Do not put them down until they settle down, or at least calm down to the point that they are not panicked. This allows them to be close to their home to calm them, but also in case it escapes your hands, it won't get hurt or loose. C, start to hold your housey outside their tank for a few minutes longer. D, start to introduce them to things outside their tank while holding them. Do not bring the object to them, bring them to the object. They are curious and like to explore, but they are nervous, tiny prey, and nocturnal animals. It takes time, but all my snakes are socialized, and they did not start that way. You cannot get discouraged. Remember, very few snakes want to be picked up, but positive reinforcement can make it so once they are held, they can be curious, confident, and calm. Also, remember they all have different personalities. One of mine likes to climb up onto a branch every night. One likes to beg for food. Another likes to hide his body but watch me with just his head. You will figure out your snake's personality soon and the best way to interact with it. Just be patient. And the OP replies, "This is incredibly helpful. Thank you. I will definitely try this. I don't hold him at all during the day since he's nocturnal, so the few handling sessions we've had have been at night, and never for so long with how nervous he seemed. I will try next time to hold him in his enclosure until he calms down. Thank you so much. And the object idea is really smart. I'll give that a shot." Alright. And then on this guy's profile, there's an update, which is actually the one that popped up on my page, but I thought I wanted to read the original first just to get some. Alright. And I posted, and here's the update. I posted about 2 months ago about some stress with my snake, Romero, an African house snake. Really nice name. At the time, I was sad and stressed because despite owning him for 6 months, he was still extremely skittish and spent most of his time hiding underground. When he did come out at night, he was terrified of me and any light, so if I turned on the lights in his enclosure to check on him or try to handle him, he ran and hid immediately. I was stressed because I felt I couldn't properly look after him this way, since I couldn't monitor his health or weight, and I felt like I was causing him immense stress just by being near him. It was also sad to not be able to handle him or spend time with him really, as during my previous experience with snakes, two corns, I'd been able to handle them frequently. I got some amazing advice from the community and some really great tips, so I wanted to share what worked. If there's other people out there with shy/skittish snakes, this is what helped me get a better relationship with my snake, and I hope it's helpful for everyone. Also, please check out my original post as the advice was incredible and is well worth reading. My first big realization was how much he hated the light. I really can't interact with him at all if the lights are on, even just dimly, so our interactions are all in total darkness, which is a bit rough for me in terms of seeing him and seeing in general, but it makes him way more comfortable. I'm hoping someday when he's a bit bigger and older, he won't be scared of some dim light at least. I took the advice of putting random items in his enclosure and switching them out every few days to get him used to change. Most notably, I used my dirty socks. I was hoping that would also help him get used to my scent. I would also added a lot more leaf litter and cork bark to help clutter the enclosure and make him feel more secure. For handling, I started off just putting a chair outside his enclosure and sitting there at night for a few hours. I wanted him to get used to me outside the glass. For the first few days, he didn't come out at all, and eventually he got used to me sitting out there and started moving around while I was outside. Next, I started sitting outside his enclosure with the enclosure door open and my hand in the enclosure. That took him a lot longer to get used to. It was over a week before he came out again, and a couple weeks before he was comfortable moving around while I was there with my hand in the enclosure. But it finally worked. I had a big breakthrough moment where I was sitting in the dark scrolling on my phone, and I felt him climb onto my hand from inside the enclosure. He made his way up my arm and hung out on my neck/head for a while, then climbed back inside. Since then, I've been letting him out of the enclosure into a little playpen I made, a cat playpen filled with snake climbing toys. He's still a little nervous being picked up, but if I move really slowly and let him smell me first, he'll sometimes climb onto my hands. He loves the playpen, and I'll sit inside it with him and let him climb all over me, which he really seems to enjoy. For feeding, it seems obvious now, but the biggest change was feeding him in the dark. As long as all the lights are off, he'll eat off the tongs without an issue. It does make feeding him quite the experience, as I wiggle the mouse in the dark and wait to feel the tug as he pounces. All in all, it's completely changed the way I interact with my snake. Thank you so much to everyone. He is much calmer now, though he still has weeks where he stays underground and days where he doesn't want anything to do with me. Lori Tuini's choice-based handling videos have been so helpful in getting him comfortable, so thank you to everyone who recommended them. The biggest challenge left is definitely having all of our interactions in the dark, but that may just be a part of him I'll have to accept. Nevertheless, getting to see how much more comfortable he is with being picked up now and how much more chill he is being near me is amazing. I hope this is helpful to anyone else in this situation. Remember, time and patience help so much. Yay, this makes me so happy to read. You're doing great. Congrats and nice work. Aw, it's really awesome. I know, like I kind of do a similar thing with my snake. I've only had him for like a year. I mean, I've had him for I say only like a year isn't that long. A year is a long time. I didn't want to make it seem like it wasn't that long, but I've had him for a year, and he's gotten more comfortable around me. Like he got to the point where like when I first got him, he would slither away whenever he saw me by the glass or whenever I couldn't take pictures of him with the camera, but I would come over to the glass and say hi anyway. And sometimes he would leave or go back under the aspen so he could feel safe again. And eventually we got to a point where he wouldn't slither away when I opened up the tank anymore, whether it was to give food or water or just to handle him or to check on something, clean up a spill, because once I spilled a little water on the aspen and, it grows mold pretty easily, so I just, like, scooped that out of there really quick and wiped it up with a paper towel, like any leftover water, and then changed out the aspen in the water dish. So, yeah, it took a while, but we have a pretty decent relationship now, and I think I've handled him something like, I don't know, maybe once a month or so since I got him. Probably a little more than that. I'm probably like underplaying it, but definitely the playpen thing is really cool, but I might try to do that with my snake. It'd be a little expensive, but once I get a job and I'm saving up a little money, it shouldn't be too bad. It should actually be cool. And that was the kind of that was the kind of like stuff um that was the kind of stuff that I want to do with my job money. Like, the idea was to put away money in my savings for like, snake stuff in the future or for like another pet. Like, I'm trying to get a crested gecko right now. You guys know I'm trying to get a crested gecko. All right, this next one's from r slash am I the asshole? No, it's from r/slash best of weather updates. The post is, am I the asshole for being furious that my boyfriend used a keepsake of mine for his art without permission? No. Oh, and the OOP in this is it's my damn tooth. I usually never read usernames because I like to keep that stuff private, but I just wanted to share the username because it's pretty funny. Am I the asshole for being furious that my boyfriend used a keepsake of mine for his art without permission? Trigger warning, theft. Originally posted to r slash am I the asshole, and the original post was June 2nd, 2020, so like 5 years ago. Jeez. I've had this shark tooth ever since I was maybe like 11. I found it on a beach on vacation. At the time, it was just cool because what are the chances to just walk on a random beach and find a shark tooth? In time, it became an important emotional keepsake for me that reminded me of all the good parts of my childhood. Honestly, most of it wasn't very good, so extra important. I just really like this stupid tooth, and whenever I was upset, I would just rub it in my hands and feel comforted. I hope you Lysoled that, because it was in a creature's mouth. That's really cool, though. I like that. And I know, like, there's places where you can buy shark tooth necklaces, but not as freaking cool as just walking on the beach and finding it, though. My boyfriend saw it in my room early on, and I told him this story, and he was like, "Hey, cool." To be fair, at that point, I didn't go in detail, just said it's important to me. Some years went by. We don't live together yet, but most of the time he comes to my place because it's larger. One day a few months back, I was looking for my shark tooth, and it wasn't in the two or three places it has been in. No biggie, I am honestly pretty messy and often lose stuff somewhere only to find it in my sock drawer a week later or something. I kept searching, confident it would resurface because it has never left my flat. After 2 weeks or so, I began to worry, took my vacuum cleaner apart, and started panicking about maybe having dropped it in the trash somehow, and then it may be gone for good. Eventually, my boyfriend is over and notices that one of my drawers was kind of messy because I had gone through it and searched every nook. I tell him I can't find the tooth, and he was like, "Oh, that's a shame. I'm sure you'll find it." I didn't notice any weird vibes, so I guess he's got a good poker face. One more week, he says over text, "Okay, I need to tell you something, don't be mad," and sends me a picture of some art project, and it has my shark tooth in it. Apparently, he had to do a sculpture type thing for university, and it's like a Viking ship that is half made out of seashells, driftwood, etc., with my tooth as the centerpiece. And he tells me he saw the tooth in my flat when he was over and I was in the shower, so he put it in his pocket to ask me later, then forgot about it, and when he rediscovered it at home, he supposedly thought it was part of some other materials he had gotten elsewhere and just went ahead and used it. He claims he didn't remember until it was too late. I tell him he's gonna give it back to me ASAP, and he goes, well, it might take a few months because it's in an exhibition, and also he used super glue, so he doesn't know if he can get it off. That's obviously a bunch of lies. I mean, not the thing about the super glue, but about, oh, I thought it came with some other supplies that I had and all that shit. I was just done with the conversation and stared at the wall for like 30 minutes. After I had calmed down a bit, I now genuinely am not sure if I am overreacting or not. Like, yeah, it's just a tooth, but he didn't ask me. I can believe him that he doesn't remember our short conversation a few years ago about it, but who just takes someone who just wrote it? Relevant comments. Deleted. Honey, he's still lying to you. He definitely lied about just forgetting to ask you. You were in the shower, not on the moon. You telling me you have the kind of relationship where he can't yell something to you in the shower or wait to ask until you get out? He purposefully waited for you to not be in the room to take the tooth. There was no way he didn't make the connection between the tooth you were searching hectically for and the one he took. It's not like it's an iPhone that everyone has or a sweatshirt. It's a shark tooth he is using as the centerpiece of his project. You honestly believe that BS about forgetting where he found it? He then just lied to you all over again and let you believe you lost it. He waits a week. A week! Come on, you think he wouldn't connect the centerpiece of his exhibit entered art piece with the object he swiped while his girlfriend was in the shower? Unless he literally got a traumatic brain injury in the last week, there was no fucking way he'd forget. I remember where I sourced everything for my art projects when they were made of trash. You think he would honestly forget finding a shark tooth? That means he even debated telling you the truth for a week. Remember that it took him a week to decide you deserve to know the truth and that you weren't responsible for losing your prized object. Girl, throw the whole boyfriend out. If he expects you to believe this bullshit, just imagine the stories he will try to sell you in the future. Good point. No man who has any respect for a woman's intelligence would attempt to sell her this shit. I'm telling you, for all the women 10 plus years into this dating game who have fallen for shit like this, if it acts like a douche and quacks like a douche, it's a douche, not the asshole. And then OOP responds, he claims he only remembered this sometime after I told him the tooth is missing. I definitely don't believe his story. I was just unsure if I maybe believe parts of it or nothing. He is forgetful, so I thought it could be possible. And then someone else replies to that, OP, it is a shark tooth, and it is the centerpiece of this piece, so it is probably the only shark tooth either at all, or of its size. He lied to you when he stole from you. Why would he ever take anything from your home without asking to begin with? Forgetful about the story, maybe. Forgetful that he took it from your place, used it in his piece, and didn't tell you until you were going crazy looking for it, and he may get caught? Hard no. And then OOP responds to that. You're right. At this point, I honestly wonder why he told me at all, since I didn't even know he was doing that sculpture. He could have kept quiet, and I would have 100% blamed my own messy ass. Small update in the comments, June 3rd, 2020, the next day. I will use this for a small update. I wrote an email to the university. Sadly, the answer was not encouraging, as they asked me for proof that I bought the tooth, even though I wrote in there that I found it. So that's dumb. I will try and find out who was responsible for the arts department, though, and keep trying. Well, that's really disappointing. They aren't giving you your property back. You found it on the beach. What are you supposed to? It's not like you have a receipt found on the beach this day, blah, blah, blah. And then someone says, can't you screenshot your text messages where he says he took it and you can have it back? That's proof that it doesn't belong to him. Yeah. And then OP says, we sadly never directly refer to the tooth in the messages, but it might work. And then OOP updated June 7th, 2020, 5 days later, the same post. Update, I wasn't allowed to post an update post, so long story short, I have my tooth back. My boyfriend threw it in my mailbox in an envelope without a card or anything, so I don't know if I'm supposed to take that as an apology or if he's pissed. Tooth seems unharmed. Who cares if he's pissed? It's your property. Haven't talked to the boyfriends ever since this happened, and I don't know what will happen with us. But I have the tooth back, and I'm actually now planning to get a tattoo of it, so if it ever does get lost, I will still have it with me. Thanks for everyone assuring me I was not the asshole. This is a repost sub. I'm not the OP. And then in the comments, we've got as an artist and also someone with a Dutch childhood, this definitely struck home. I've got a similar object that to most people would be just another bit of clutter, but to me, this object in question represents a pivotal point for me, and simply having it is a huge emotional comfort. I'm glad OP is using past tense. I'm glad she got her tooth back and is getting a more permanent reminder just in case. But I personally could not imagine ever just grabbing someone's charm or whatever for an art piece without it be premeditated and asked about. I definitely agree with the people that said he absolutely did this on purpose, and the empty envelope and just the tooth says it all. He lied, he was called out, he was butthurt about it, and if he was like that over a sentimental shark tooth, what would have happened longer on? Girl dodged a landmine waiting to get set up. Then someone else says, oof, OOP referring to this person in the current tense in the update is pretty uncomfortable to be honest. Hopefully they moved on from that walking red flag. Since she talks with since she talked with his university and maybe sent the text, I wonder if he got in serious trouble. Doesn't seem like he thinks they were together anymore, at least. He didn't get in trouble. Universities don't get involved in conflict unless it is certifiably a legal issue. That's why they ask for proof of ownership. Beyond that, it's an interpersonal conflict, and even though it sucks, it really is outside of their scope. If she got in contact with someone lower down in the department, like one of his professors, they might have contacted him and said, I got a weird email about your piece. What's going on? Or at least I can see this happening in my husband's department. The higher up, nah. They only care if there's a monetary value and the university is somehow implicated. Blah blah. Alright, well, hopefully they broke up after this, because that's pretty messed up. Like, it may seem stupid to other people, but, like, it's not stupid to you. This next one's from r/am I the asshole. Am I the asshole for giving my son non-vegan food behind my wife's back? I, a 32 male, and my wife is a 33 female. We've been married for 8 years and have a 12-year-old son together. About 6 years ago, my wife decided to go vegan. She was sent the documentary Dominion by a vegan friend of hers and ever since has said non-vegan food is revolting and refuses to eat it. After a long conversation, I agreed to go vegetarian and be vegan in the house and around her, which she is happy with. She also decided our son should go vegan, which after seeing a dietitian I also agreed with. Things have been fine with this arrangement until a few months ago when I began finding wrappers from non-vegan candy and even burgers from McDonald's in my son's school bag, which he has been buying with his chore money. I had a conversation with my son and he confessed he felt lonely and excluded eating vegan around his friends and that they always had much better candy than he did and it wasn't fair. I decided I didn't want him spending his pocket money on snacks and throwing out the vegan snacks we actually bought him instead of buying games, etc. It made no sense, but I also know the way my wife feels about non vegan products. So I began buying my son what he wanted on our way to football practice instead. Long story short, my wife recently found out what has been going on and completely flipped out. She called me an animal abuse enabler and a few other names and said I was corrupting your son. Now she is not speaking to me. Our son panicked and told her I had bought the snacks for him and he didn't know they weren't vegan. I don't blame him for that. He just doesn't want to be in trouble with his mom. Am I the asshole here? You're not the asshole, but I will say grow a spine. Tell your wife that your son is allowed to eat whatever he wants and you're going to encourage him to have whatever diet he wants to have a non-vegan diet if that's what he wants. If he wants to eat meat, he's gonna eat meat. If he wants to eat meat, he's gonna eat meat. Doesn't matter what she says. She doesn't have the say in it. And this kid is 12 and he has authority over his own taste buds and he has authority over the food that he gets to eat. Like, I'm not saying that he's just allowed to eat chocolate all the time, but like he should be allowed to choose whether he wants to eat meat or not. I think that's like, yeah. So, not the asshole. I think my answer at this point would be our son is old enough to decide what he wants to eat and what his dietary preferences are. If we put him into a situation where he feels he has to hide things from us, that's on us. If your wife is confronting him about this in any kind of intimidating way or trying to make him feel guilty with the same phrases she's using with you, I would prioritize your son and his needs and well being. Shit like this can cause a lot of problems. Yeah, I agree. Tell her straight up that your son gets to decide whether he's going to be vegan or not. Doesn't matter. You need to say something here. Anyway, I agree. She's trying to bully everyone with her choices. Does she forget most of her life was spent eating animals? Now she wants everyone to do what she wants. Yes, putting people in a position to lie is also bullying. Yeah, she's allowed, people are allowed to make their own decisions, and the kid is in an age where he's allowed to make his own decisions. He's allowed to make those kinds of decisions for himself. Like, there's obviously still stuff that he's not old enough to make decisions about because he's only 12, but like, he's allowed to make the decision about this, about whether or not he wants to eat meat. And then someone else says, I think we're also forgetting that this is a 12-year-old boy. Anybody who has spent time around a growing boy knows that they eat nonstop. Literally, they can eat an entire roasted chicken in a day and still be looking for food. I know plenty of kids are vegetarian and fine, but that's because they choose to be. Having a kid walking around feeling hungry and unsatisfied all this time is borderline abuse. And I'm saying this as a vegetarian of 15 years who fights for animal rights. It's hard to get all you need at that age, it would seem, especially playing sports. Worked with a guy doing construction. He ran ultra marathons and was vegan. He ate all day long, it seemed, and took supplements. He was in his 40s. I can't imagine a 12-year-old being that organized about keeping it up. Yeah, for real. A guy working construction and doing ultra marathons is likely eating all day anyway, vegan or not. Yeah, for real. And someone says this thread is making me hungry. I know, right? Legitimately. Uh, gonna try and find a new comment thread. People are talking a lot about this. People have a lot of stuff to say. Also, if the choice his mother is imposing on his is making him socially awkward or possibly could lead to him being bullied or ostracized, I think his father did the right thing. OP, you're not the asshole for being approachable and looking after your son's wishes and well-being. However, I think you shouldn't have lied to your wife, which gives you a soft you're the asshole. I think she's also being an asshole by trying to impose her newly found beliefs to her whole family. Your son is a kid and afraid of getting in trouble, which is understandable, but he too has been lying to his mother, and something that could have been much easier with you and him explaining to her the whole situation could possibly lead to you being singled out and having to take the blame for all. I think you should all sit down as a family and discuss the situation. Explain to your wife the potential damage that not eating non vegan food could do to your son's social life, and make her understand that she's free to make her own choice, but your son's body is his, your son's food choices are his. She has no right to impose her own beliefs and diet on him if he doesn't want to follow what she does. And then another person says, have you met a militant vegan? The wife absolutely is one based on this post. They can't be reasoned with. She'll just yell and abuse them both and refuse to listen. OP likely knew this, so did all he could to make this as easy on his son as he could. I absolutely agree. And then someone literally just responds with the word cult. The vegan culture can be so incredibly toxic. Yeah, for real. Absolutely. It's a cult. It can be a cult. There are definitely good vegans out there, okay? But like I know this channel that is just about vegan videos and the vegan teacher specifically. Like the vegan teacher is one of the biggest ones because she's the one that everyone complains about. She's the one that everyone points to when they say this you're making all other vegans look bad. And I didn't do the video about her for a bunch of reasons. I was making a video about her and then I ended up not, and there are some reasons for that, which I'm not going to get into right now. But um, basically, just everyone points to her when they say, this is what a bad vegan is. Like, this is how insane vegans are. There are vegans out there that don't do that and they're just normal, but she makes the whole vegan community look bad. If we put him into a situation where he feels he has to hide things from us, that's on us. This all day, this is what every parent in the world should understand. I cannot say this enough, so I'll repeat it. If you put your child in a situation where he feels he has to hide things from you, that's on you. Imagine when your kid has to hide food. Right? The poor kid is sneaking fast food like it's illegal drugs because he knows his mom will react like it is, not the asshole OP, but you need family counseling ASAP before your son's trust in your family is wrecked forever. I know, and what if it gets to the point where it's wreaking havoc on the kid's health? Like, the vegan teacher completely ignores anything that doesn't point towards, oh, everyone can and should be vegan, but a lot of people can't be vegan because they take the supplements and they can't digest it properly or whatever, and it doesn't give them the same nutrients, so they have to eat meat and a bunch of other stuff. And there are a bunch of reasons why people don't be vegan anymore for health reasons, and it could get to the point where it's wreaking havoc on the kid's health, but it seems like the mom wouldn't care about that. I don't know. Anyway, um, having poked around on the Ask a Vegan subreddit, I can honestly say that the number on the people of that sub saying that they would disown their kids, present or future, if they decided they didn't want to be vegan is just too high. It comes across more in line with more of a cult attitude than as parents who love their kids. It's horrible when parents disown kids for not following their religion. Imagine applying that to food. The poor kid is experiencing the same kind of fear of rejection those kids experience when they realize they don't want to be part of their parents' religion, and it breaks my heart. All OP's wife is going to achieve is giving her son an eating disorder and alienating him from her while possibly ruining her marriage. If OP grows a pair and stands up to her instead of going behind her back. Yes, thank you. That was the only thing OP did wrong in this situation. He should have gone to her and said, like, listen, you can be vegan if you want to. My kid isn't going to be vegan. He's made that decision. He's allowed to make that choice for himself. I'm going to take a short break and I'll be right back. I think we've read enough comments for this story.